Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let There Be Talk. Today is Monday, May 14th. It's a metal Monday today. A monumental guest, an absolute honor. One of my heroes, somebody I consider a legend. Mr. Scott Ian is on today. And I cannot tell you how fucking excited I am to have this man on. You know, there was a time back in the day where me and my boy, Steve Goodrich, Mr. Woody himself, we would cruise around in our Toyotas. Celica, him, and Tercel for me. We'd cruise around with our long hair and our speed metal cassettes. And there was a time where Spreading the Disease and Among the Living did not leave the cassette player. It would be one record, then put on the other. And then S.O.D, that became the third cassette. And it was just years straight of Anthrax. It was just incredible, this band was to me. Unbelievable. And to finally get to sit down and talk to this man about what I consider one of the most monumental music scenes ever to happen, especially in the Bay Area, that whole speed metal thing with thrash metal, whatever you want to call it. Metallica, Exodus, Death Angel, Testament, Possessed, Anthrax, Megadeth. It was just so insane to have that, and still, I believe, super underrated, especially in the Bay Area. You know, they had the hippie scene in the Bay Area in the '60s, and then they never ever seemed to really talk about what the Bay Area had created, you know, and for Anthrax to be on the East Coast and making their own monumental records is just an incredible story on its own. And to get to sit down and talk to this man after all these years is just mind-boggling. I mean, he's just he's an amazing person to me. The records blow my mind. You know, Fistful of Metal, Spreading the Disease, Among the Living, State of Euphoria. I saw that tour a few times. I've seen these guys since Spreading the Disease, so it's crazy to think. I think Scott said 37 years, this band. Still going strong. Right now, out on the biggest tour this summer with Slayer. I mean, come on, man. So what an honor to have him on. It's funny because sometimes I think, man, this podcast should be way bigger. Are people even fucking listening to like these epic episodes? And then I realize it doesn't even matter, because if you would have told me 6 years ago I was going to get to sit down and talk to like Scott Ian for 2 hours at his house about the history of Anthrax and everything he's ever done, I would have been good right there. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, made it, you know? So, wow. What a great episode, man. He tells some funny stories. A couple of them, I just listened back to the episode just to make sure everything was all good, and told a great story about these Cowboys and Indians parties that Kirk Hammett used to have. And also he told some very interesting stories about the ground zero of the Chuck D Public Enemy, mashup, as they would talk. It's not really a mashup, but the tour and everything, and how that happened, and everything Anthrax, which is great. And God, I owe Scott big time for doing this. And he of course, played the Bon Scott tribute with us, and it was so amazing to look over and see Scotty in there just laying down the god of rhythm. You know, you got to think to, play rhythm guitar and you're a star like Malcolm. You know, the rhythm guys, man, they're few and far between. And rhythm is a hard fucking animal because you're the lock. You're the lock for everybody else to, riff around on. Anyway, Scott, I love you, man. You guys are going to love this episode. Let's just get into a couple things before I split. Let's see. I'm going to be in Arizona this week. House of Comedy. Come out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Get your tickets. Arizona. Spread the word. If you have anybody that lives in Arizona, tell them we want to try to fill this room up, man. Tell all your friends. Tweet it. Do a tweet invasion. Everybody that listens, start tweeting my gigs. That'll be a good way to get the word out there. Everybody, even if it's not in your town, just, hey, go see Dean Del Rey at House of Comedy. Next week, New York City. I will be your way. I don't know what the fuck's going on here. I just woke up. I will be your way. Anyway, New York City, May 23rd, I land, and I will be at the Stand all couple weeks there, May 23rd through the 31st. June 7th, I am headlining Nick's Comedy Stop in Boston with my boy Chase. Do not miss that. June 7th. Get tickets now. All tickets are on my website, deandelray.com. Also, Vegas Comedy Cellar, June 28th through the 30th. The Comedy Cellar in Vegas at the Rio Hotel. How fucking cool is that? Quick shout out for my Patreon donators. I love you guys. Richard Shetlinga. Yeah, I know I fucked your name up. Shetlinga. Richard Shetlinga. Thank you so much, my man. Mark Brunot coming in with the power. Love you, Mark Brunot. If you want to donate to the podcast, it's patreon.com/Dean Del Rey. One last thing. All the pre-orders on the shirts are done. I will be shipping them out hopefully next week. I thank you for your support, everybody. Enjoy this episode. I got to tell you, it was one of my favorite of all time. And I'm not joking, man. This thing is, it meant a lot to me. Here he is, Mr. Scott Ian Candles Lit. All right, here we are, another episode of Let the Be Talk. Fantastic guest. Been trying to get you on for what, 2 years?
Couple of years, yeah.
Couple of years. Scott Ian, how are you, buddy?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I always feel like my podcast is half interview, half old school MTV Cribs. Because I go to people's houses and you learn immediately who they are.
Yeah,
you know?
Well, what did you learn from walking in here today?
Well, I learned that I did shit wrong back in the day.
Wow.
I mean, you know what I mean? I'm like 52. I still don't have a place. But I don't regret it because the freedom I've had over my life and the things I've done. But it is funny when you look at a lot of people and you go, oh, man, they got it going on. You know? It's not like a mansion, but it's peaceful.
No, trust me, owning a house is great. And even when you find out, let's get into a super exciting conversation about retaining walls.
Yeah, but that's some real shit. You know
but
it
is.
mean?
I mean, we found out up in the back of our property there, we've got these 30-year-old, we didn't live here 30 years ago, but these railroad ties that are holding that hillside
I can see them, yeah.
They're basically collapsing now. So, we've been going through the process of, we got a contractor and a landscape person and blah, 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 and we've got like a 6-month job that's going to start in a couple weeks. And
thank God while you're on tour.
Figuring out how to pay for that was a whole other, a lot of concrete.
That's the
nightmare,
nightmare,
idea
right?
Concrete costs so much money.
It's the nightmare because you're like, oh, we own.
Well, all of you out there who see me on tour this year on the Slayer tour, just know I'm working for concrete. Literally, I am up there playing songs to pay for concrete to build a retaining wall so my house doesn't get run over by a hillside.
That's the worst. Right? And how long have you had it? Like when you buy a place, they inspect it, and did they miss that?
No, it wasn't collapsing when we bought the house. It was in the last couple of years, and then you find out, these ties are good for 30 years, and this house was built 34 years ago, and so that's how old the railroad ties. So they're 4 years past their expiration, kind of.
Yeah.
So better safe than sorry, and wait for more rains next year, and then have the whole hillside come down on us.
Oh my God, that'd be a nice. It's like right now. I just moved and I found a mattress receipt, and I was like, oh yeah, when did I buy this? 22 years ago.
Yeah, it's probably time.
It's probably time. I called them up. I go, how long do these last? They go, about 15.
Right.
I go, oh, I guess I got an extra 7 out of it. Man, I would have just kept going.
Yeah, good thing you found that. You start getting sick from an old mattress, probably.
Oh yeah, I think so. And also bad back and stuff, you know?
Exactly.
Old man stuff.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Old man stuff.
Is your body broken from metal over the years?
Not as bad as it could be. But yeah, I have a couple years ago. I mean, look, I've been headbanging like a maniac for a long time. So the neck issues are kind of a constant. Like, I can't imagine what it would feel like to not have a certain level of pain going on, which I'm totally used to. Like, if it just all of a sudden all went away, it would probably feel really strange to me. Yeah. But there's always a certain level of stiffness and soreness here that I just, maybe if I just literally stopped now, maybe in a few years it could go. I don't know if it would ever go back to normal, all the damage I've probably done already. But a couple of years ago, my left shoulder started getting really bad. And I had constant pain in my shoulder and in this side of my neck, and it was making me have these terrible headaches. And I started going to physical therapy on my shoulder because basically I'd done it's the weight of the guitar.
Yeah, and also this stuff too, right?
Yeah, and the position you're in playing, you're all kind of hunched in, and your shoulders are pulled forward, and you know I've been in that position for 35 years, basically. And my shoulder was bad, and I did physical therapy for like 6 months, and all the pain went away, and it felt great. And then I went back on tour.
Wow. So it came right back?
Yeah. It's instant. It's instant. You put a guitar on, you start moving around and jumping around and doing my thing on stage, and it's, you know, it's back. Yeah. You're not supposed to do these things to your body. I mean, I know tons of dudes in bands.
Oh, yeah, Tom Araya.
Yeah, Tom
Jason
can't
Newsted.
headbang. Yeah, I mean, Tom
they got
hasn't
the
been able to
surgeries.
headbang for years. Tons of guys with hip replacements. You know,
oh, yeah.
Paul Stanley, I think he's had both,
Nikki Sixx
both
just
hips
had him.
done. Yeah, I mean, I haven't gotten that far yet. I haven't felt that yet. I have the feeling someday it's gonna come along because I've been jumping on concrete and wood stages my whole life. So eventually I'm probably going to get that twinge and the doctor's going, oh, go get an MRI. It's time for a hip replacement.
Yeah.
I know that's probably in my future in the next 10 years. And look, my dad has one. He's got titanium hips. He says it's better than ever. Like, it's better than his actual hips.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm actually looking forward to that.
Imagine, I always freak out on Angus because you and I are AC/DC freaks, and I think he's 64. And I can't even imagine, because, you know, early AC/DC, when he'd jump off the stack onto his knees. Yeah. You know, and even on the last
the way he used
tour,
to throw himself on the floor.
Oh yeah, he would just drop like a curly shuffle,
the cartwheel or the windmill thing. On the floor. Yeah, like I've always used Angus as my touchstone. He's 9 years older than me, I think, and I've always said if he's still up there doing it, that means I have at least that many more years. Like, so I guess. From the moment Angus stops, that means it doesn't necessarily mean I have 9 years left.
Right.
But at least 9 years left from the time he quits. Because if he could still do it and he's that much older than me and he's still performing at that level physically, then I've got no excuse.
I look at some of the early AC/DC, and I saw him back on 78, you know, Power Age and all that. When you think about, I mean, it almost looks like the camera speeded up. How insane, how fast he moves and crazy he is. I still can't get over it. Nobody's ever been like that.
Yeah, he's the Tasmanian devil up there. He really was and is. You know, even look, he's not headbanging like he did in 1978 now, but he's still headbanging.
Yeah.
Still up there headbanging. Still up there back and forth across that stage. You know, he's still doing it at such a physical level in his 60s. And, you know, my hat's off to him always. I mean, he's the greatest.
I think about speed metal because a lot of the speed metal is the right hand. You know, it's that galloping picking, and that's got to be like a wear and tear thing of just like, you know what I mean? That right hand.
Probably. Yeah. There's probably some kind of weird repetitive stress. I've never had any carpal tunnel or anything like that. But luckily enough, in all these years, I've never had any true injury. I get cramps and things like that if I don't warm up enough. Or now, in my 20s, I never even warmed up. I never even thought about it. I could get on stage and play all those songs faster than we recorded them without even thinking about it. Now, if I don't warm up for at least half an hour, I'm lucky if I'm even almost at album speed. You know what I mean? I really actually got to warm up. Otherwise, those first 3 songs of the set are literally going to be me cheating my way through them. And, but yeah, I just got to warm up and stretch, and I'm okay. You walked in, I was, the last week before a tour, I'll play an hour and a half a day. I play to a metronome where I start at 160, down picking and alternating up to 210 beats per minute.
Wow.
Till I can get to 210 and be able to play songs faster than I need to play them. Just so then when I get on tour, I know I'm playing them. I'm not cheating. I'm down picking where I need to down pick. And, because it would be so easy to just cheat and alternate. And my alternating picking, my upstroke is really good, and I defy people really live to know if I'm cheating or not, but I know.
Yeah.
I know. And if I'm not down picking a part that I'm supposed to be down picking, I'll start to obsess over it a little bit, and it distracts me in the show, and it takes me out of what I'm doing. I don't want to be thinking about that. It should just be automatic.
I got to tell you, I don't really know you that well, but I feel like I've known you all my life. What do we got? 38 years Anthrax right now. What is it?
81? 37 years.
37 years.
July will be 37.
It's unbelievable. I've seen you almost my whole life. I'm 52, but most of my adult life. And I grew up in San Francisco, the Bay Area, and it's just insane to me to think about what I saw at Ground Zero that is still around right now. It's so crazy to think,
So were you at the Kabuki show in 1984 that we did?
Dude, I saw all your shows, man.
Exodus.
I think River
Raven
Theater. Did you do that also?
We did.
I think on the Spreading the Disease record.
Yes, I'll pull it up after. I think our web guy posted a flyer from that River.
I was there
a couple times a week. Whatever, he'll post old flyers.
Yeah,
I think he posted. That's Gurneyville.
Gurneyville. Yep, Russian River.
Yes.
And that's,
he posted a flyer, and the band, hold on.
Yeah.
This should be let's see, do you know who opened for us?
Death Angel?
No. It's not a known band.
Okay.
I didn't know who it was. You could have asked me. I never would have had the answer for you.
Schizo?
But, hold on. They must have been a local band.
Yeah.
And
I would know who it is once I see it.
Here it is. That's so weird that you bring that up.
Oh, yeah.
Ulysses
Siren. Ulysses Siren. I think they were a Santa Rosa band.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? Let me see this.
It's so
man.
weird that posted, because it was 30-something years. It was May 2nd, so it was.
Yeah, and Rebel Productions, that's Kat Serdowski,
I don't know
who managed Linda Perry later on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she was a huge manager for, Vane and all these bands in Santa Rosa. But she also was the one that was really kind of a taste maker in Santa Rosa. She worked at Record Factory, turned people on to, me, to Motley Crue on the Leather Records release. But then she opened a small little fucking record store. It was small, and she also lived in there. And it was right on Santa Rosa Avenue. And it was like Record Vault, but not in San Francisco.
Right.
So you would go there and you could buy Merciful Fate.
Sure.
You could buy all this stuff. And then she started putting on shows. And,
awesome.
Cro-Mags.
It's so cool to get a history.
I saw Cro-Mags at that same venue on Age of Coral record.
I love that the flyer says, from New York.
Yeah, from New York.
Is that going to make people come or people stay away? I'm not quite sure what that actually does. They're from New York.
Well, maybe they were just letting people know, hey, you can just come because they came a long way.
Right,
and that's if you're from New York and you go to the River Theater to Guerneville, it's this long fucking windy road.
Because we were in a van, and I remember, where the fuck are we? Where are we playing?
Yeah.
I remember someone saying, oh, yeah, it's Bay Area.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then we're like, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
Where the hell are we?
It's kind of Jason Land, Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what it is. It's a kind of like a white trash vacation resort area
Right.
in the summer, and in the winter it would just shut down, and it'd be a lot of weed growers up there secretly.
Right, of
And
course.
that theater would flood once a year, up to like 15, 20 feet of water from the river would
Right.
raise, and then it would just mold out, and then they would air it out during the
God.
summer, but do
Yeah.
shows. But I
Yeah,
saw you there.
I remember it being a crazy show. And I remember something else about that day, oddly enough. We were sitting in some diner eating breakfast, and this is 1986. And remember they used to put pictures of kids on milk cartons?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Have You Seen Me Lately?
Yes.
The great Guar song.
And I swear to God, so there's a quart of milk on our table.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of like this teenager on it, and the dude behind the counter, like bringing people coffee and whatnot, was the dude. We were looking
No
at
way.
the dude on. We're like, it's him. It's the guy.
No way.
It was the guy. We were freaking out. What do we do? What do we do? Like, fuck it, leave him alone. He seems happy.
Wow, that's amazing. He just ran away.
It was true. We were like, I swear to you, the guy was on the milk carton. The guy was right
Yeah.
there. So anyway, that's what I remember from Guerneville. At Russian River, I love the Russian River. Kirk Hammett used to throw this party every year, years ago. This is like for all pre-kids, for all of us. He called it his Cowboys and Indians party
Wow.
because Kirk's got a property up in Sonoma.
That's right.
And
The ranch.
In the summertime, he would throw this party, and it was basically everyone would go camp out on his property. Then you get up early in the morning the next day. He'd have like a school bus to bring everyone down on the Russian River, and he would have all kinds of kayaks and floats, and people would bring their own stuff. And it would basically be 50 or 60 people heading down the Russian River with beer kegs in your boat, and people on all kinds of anything you can imagine going on substance-wise for like 6 hours down
Yeah.
the river and tipping each other over. And that was quite
Just metalheads up there.
so much fun. Like, seriously, one of the best, or two of the best times. I can't remember how many times I did it. But, yeah, we keep pushing them to bring back the Cowboy and Indian party. Like,
That'd be
it needs to happen
amazing,
again.
right?
So, and that was the other thing. You would have to dress like a cowboy or an Indian too, as part of it. You'd have to
Just
be a
like
cowboy or
part
an Indian.
village people party.
It was nuts.
Yeah.
It was nuts. And then you'd get back to his house at the end of the day in all kinds of, after being in the sun and drinking and whatever all day long, and he'd have a huge meal laid out for everybody, and then you'd watch movies outside and sleep out overnight again, and it just epic party.
Yeah, it's like Kirk Hammett is really the first guy I knew that became rich. You know what I'm saying? From the scene, like I'm at
wondering if he's
I'm at the Stone every night.
I think I could say the same thing.
Right?
Those guys, just in general, in my life, yeah. I don't think I knew, because let's say when they really first started to make money on Justice.
Right.
Like, so that's like 88, right?
Right.
So, yeah, they're probably the first people I knew that had a lot of money.
Yep. Same with me.
More than anyone in my family, more than anyone I knew. Like,
more than
by far.
anyone I knew.
Yeah.
It was like, no way did you think. you knew Van Halen and those guys.
I met dudes but they weren't my friends.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like a dude that I would see on a regular basis
Yes.
all of a sudden had a house in Pacific Heights
Right.
in San Francisco that he bought for cash.
Yeah.
And you're just going like, he's having a Halloween party and you're looking around going, this guy is rich.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he plays metal.
Yes.
But
back to what you were saying too about the early Bay Area days. It makes me think because we leave for this Slayer tour on Thursday, and as most people know, Gary Holt has been in Slayer since Jeff's been gone, and we go back to those early days of
Bonded by
Exodus
blood.
and meeting those guys for the first time in 1984, and of course, like lifelong friends. And it's just when I put it in the context of, like, I'm going to be hanging out with dudes like Gary and Tom and Kerry, for the next month and a half. We've all been doing this. We literally grew up together. We became grown-ups and fathers, and it's just insane. And this is what we do. This is what we've done with our lives, and we still get to do it.
Yep.
And we still get to go have fun and bust each other's balls, and it's just so amazing to me that, like, when I think back to being the Kabuki Theater in San Francisco in '84, coming off stage, and Exodus had trashed our dressing room.
Yeah.
For fun.
Yeah.
Like, and then we got to go hang with them and trash their dressing room with them. You know, like, I mean, like, that's how long we've been doing this. Like, we're the same idiots.
Yeah, it's insane. Last year I was doing Rock on the Range as a comedian.
Right. Sure.
And Metallica was headlining, and Kirk came up to me, and there's Les from Primus, and there's the three of us standing there for a minute. We're talking about the Stone, and I'm like, I can't even believe right now I'm in Columbus, Ohio, 36 years later, and we're all in this corner of the States. That kind of shit blows my mind, you know?
Totally.
Especially for the type of music that you guys are playing, because when it comes out, to me, I think that Bonded by Blood is one of the most underrated records of all time, because I think that that's really one of the ground zeros of the sound.
I think I've gone on record saying it over the years. I think Bonded by Blood is the best debut album of between them, us, Metallica, Slayer, and Megadeth. I think Bonded is the best first album.
I believe that too.
From start to finish, I think it's the most consistent, the most complete, the most just perfect thrash record. You know, I really love that album so much. You know, I've said it before too. People ask all the time, well, if you could add another band to the Big Four,
unbelievable.
You know, be Exodus in a second. It just should have been. They should have just been there. It should have just been the Big Five.
Yep.
From day one, because I've always said it. They are just as important to the genesis of what we've been doing for all these years. You know, they should be there. They're just as important as any one of us.
Yeah, man, 100%. I mean, I think that Exodus. It's so weird because when I think about them, I think about them more than Kill 'Em All. I mean, of course, Kill 'Em All is there, but it seemed to me that it was like Exodus. When that record came, everybody wanted to be that record.
Right.
And that was really, to me, the right-hand galloping sound, you know?
Oh, I mean, and of course, Kirk was in Exodus.
Exactly.
So it's all so tied together. And look, Gary is one of the best guitar players. As far back in the mid '80s, we used to sit around. We'd be on tour fantasizing. God, imagine if we had Gary Holt in our band. Like and even Rick. You know, Rick Hunolt, the original other guitar player.
Amazing combo.
Amazing guitar players. Everyone was amazing in that band. But
I mean, those dual licks together. You know, that stuff was like blueprint. Everybody picked that up and started doing it.
Gary's. I feel like I'm harping on Gary, but he's just such an amazing guitar player. If you ask me the definition of thrash metal, it would be Gary Holt.
I say that too.
I put his photo. Look, Rain and Blood may be, in my opinion, the best thrash metal album ever made, but Gary Holt just embodies that spirit. His soul is just so purely thrash metal, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then Bailoff was the perfect combo of like hardcore and speed metal because his style and everything about him, you know, it was just insane.
I had heard the tales of Bailoff before I'd ever met him, and meeting Metallica early on when they first got to New York. And the first thing all those guys were saying was, "You look just like Paul Bailoff." Now, granted, I had hair kind of like Paul at the time. I wasn't as big as Paul. But and then I saw his picture. I'm like, I see it. He's kind of like me with 20 pounds. I actually saw it. But yeah, they were all freaking out. You look just like Bailoff. I'm like, is that good or bad? Oh no, he's the coolest. He's the craziest dude in San Francisco.
Yeah, he really.
Where did you meet him?
I couldn't even imagine Bailoff around now in this texting and Instagram world and stuff. God. You know, Bailoff. It's like what Rollins would say. An ultimate frontman is somebody you see and you go, oh, well, if he wasn't doing this, he'd be dead. You know what I mean? He's not going to be working at 7-Eleven or something. That's Bailoff. That's Bon Scott.
Sure.
Those kind of guys, you know, Robert Plant, where you're like, well, that's what they are.
Yeah.
You know, he was insane, man. And those shows, I still can't get over those shows, you know, the violence of the radicalness, but also the friendliness of it, you know?
I saw it firsthand in '84 when we were on tour with Raven that summer, and that Kabuki show, And Exodus opened that show. And we had heard of Exodus. Obviously hadn't seen them yet at that point. And it was actually some friends of ours in New York who started Torrid Records, who signed Exodus.
Yeah, right. Took them from Combat or whatever.
Yeah, and so Exodus opens that show, and I'm standing on the side of the stage, and the insanity that ensued from the first second they started, the kids getting up on stage and then the head walking, I had never seen before. And I had never seen that intense of a crowd. I had seen hardcore shows plenty, but this was a different level because there were 3,000 people there.
Yeah.
And it was a different physicality. It had all the elements of a hardcore show and the headbanging, and then all of that combined created this new thing. It was just unbelievable. And I literally was thinking, like, how the fuck are we supposed to follow that?
Yeah.
And we did fine. We had a great show because people were obviously waiting to see us, and we had a record out, and people were excited to see Anthrax. But I couldn't get over Exodus. I couldn't get over what I had seen. I'd never seen anything like that Bay Area audience in 1984.
Yeah, when you watched that Studio 54 show with Slayer, you can see exactly what that was, man. And it was explosive, and it was out of control.
Oh yeah,
and the songwriting,
Yeah.
Now, you guys are East Coast, of course. You're the only East Coast at the time compared to what's going on the West Coast.
Right.
Early on, I've had everybody on the show, of course, everything. I always ask people what the gateway drug is. Either they say Kiss or Zeppelin, depending on the age. Of course, it's Kiss for you,
I was into music before Kiss.
Yeah.
But I pretty much all of it was stuff that my parents also liked.
Right.
Granted, a lot of cool stuff. My from Elton John to Simon and Garfunkel, the Woodstock soundtrack album was
great.
Played all the time in my house. So when you think about who's on that record, so much good stuff on that record. The Doobie Brothers. Yeah. All kinds of stuff.
Crosby,
my dad,
Stills, Nash.
Crosby, Stills, Nash. My dad and mom, they listened to a lot of good music. And Bette Midler, my mother loved Bette Midler.
Oh, I love the Rose.
There was just a lot of great music in my house. Elton John was probably my favorite before I discovered Kiss. We even saw Elton John in 74 at the Nassau Coliseum.
Wow. How old were you?
I was 10.
Well, how old are you? I'm 52.
I'm 54.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so you're 2 up, man.
Yeah.
Did you see Zeppelin?
No. I'll get to that. But way into Elton John. He was my favorite. Buying the records, buying the singles. But then I discovered Kiss. I saw him on a TV show. And
what show? Was it Don Kirshner's?
No, it wasn't, because it was during the daytime. I had already heard Rock and Roll All Night on the radio from Kiss Alive. This was in 75. And didn't know who it was because the DJ never back announced.
Oh, yeah. How about
song.
that?
So I had heard this song and was flipping out over this song. And me and my brother were singing it in the car and thought it was the coolest song. But we didn't have a record store in walking distance. And to go to the record store, that meant going to the mall. And that was maybe a once a month thing. And I was flipping out. Who the hell is this? Who is this band? Who is this band? And it was about 2 weeks later, probably. Just happened to be flipping channels, and whoever it was said, "Here's Kiss with their hit song, Rock and Roll All Night." And I stood there staring at the television at these 4 dudes in makeup.
Yeah.
Initially thinking, what the hell is going? Is it real? What am I even looking at? I couldn't even understand the idea. Even though Elton John had a lot of costume changes.
Of course.
He didn't look like this.
Yeah.
And I literally stood there with my jaw hanging open for 2.5 minutes or whatever it was, and then ran screaming to my mother, please, we got to go to Sam Goody's. We got to go to the record store. We got to go to the record store. I have to have this. Losing my mind. And that weekend we went, and I got the single, and it's just it's just mind blowing. And that was it. And then I got Kiss Alive, and so on and so on. But so Kiss was, and my parents wanted nothing to do with Kiss.
Right.
So that
of course, are they old hippies? Were they hippies? What were their backgrounds?
They were too old to be hippies.
Yeah. Oh,
but
really?
They were, let's say in 68, my dad was 28. So,
oh, wow. Yeah.
He was working and had 2 kids. He couldn't
what did he do?
afford to be a hippie. He was in the jewelry business.
Oh, wow.
But they were very much of that lifestyle in a sense where my parents partied.
Oh, wow.
You know, they smoked weed and they partied and listened to good music, and all their friends did. And, you know, so they were very much living kind of a suburban, you know, husband and wife thing. But at the same time, it wasn't, you know, like, you know, I don't know.
They weren't like your standard,
No,
like
they weren't,
50s family.
They weren't
where it was
square,
like,
let's put it that way. And so I grew up in a pretty cool house, and I have an uncle who's only 10 years older than me. And so when we go to my grandparents and visit him, my Uncle Mitch turned me on to tons of music because I'd be 13 and he was like 23, you
Wow.
know, or even when I was younger, when I was like 8 and he was 18, and I'd hang out in his room and go through his comic books and his albums. Like, that's how I found out about Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
He had a Black Sabbath. He had the first album. I was like, what's that? You know, and he's like, that's acid rock. I was like, what?
Acid rock.
I don't even know what that means. You want to hear it? Sure. And he scared the shit out of me when he puts it on. You hear the rain and the bell.
Oh, the bell.
And then the riff comes in for Black Sabbath. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, I wanted more, you know. So yeah, and we had cousins like who were bikers, and we'd go to their house. They lived pretty close to us, and I remember going to my cousin Eddie's house, and he'd be like down in the basement with a bunch of long-haired biker dudes like jamming out. They all had like SGs and fuzz boxes, and
I love that era, right?
Drum kit, and like 1974, and who knows what they were playing, and they probably weren't even good.
Yeah,
but to a 9-year-old, it was the coolest thing in the world to see a bunch of 20-year-old long hairs
with sideburns
rocking out, crank through a Fender Twin in a fuzz box, you know. Like, it was the coolest thing ever. And so yeah, all I wanted to do was be a part of that.
Yeah, man, I know that same thing. There's always the guys in the neighborhood that played. You could hear them in the garage, and once in a while they'd have it open. You could get a peek, and they'd be looking at you like, "Get out of here!"
Right,
and you're like, "Whoa!"
If Eddie wasn't my cousin, there's no way I'm sitting in that basement with all these dudes hanging out, smoking weed and drinking beer, and I'm like 9. Oh my God, this is so cool.
So you what was your first concert? Was it Elton John?
I think the first show we ever went to was a Paul Simon show.
Oh, badass.
With my parents. Saw Paul Simon at some theater in New York. I don't remember where. That's the first show we ever went to. Elton John was probably the second show ever. And then I think Kiss was not long after that. I saw
a Live 2 tour?
Yeah, I saw him in February of 77, and then I saw him again in December of 77.
Wow, you saw him twice that year.
Yeah.
In the city both times?
Nassau
the Garden?
Coliseum.
Oh, wow.
And then the Garden. I was there December 14th, 77 at the Garden.
Wow, you got a good memory. No drugs for you back in the day?
No drugs ever.
No drugs.
No.
That's crazy.
I didn't even, as far as real drinking, I didn't even start till I was in my 30s.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I didn't even, as a kid. I got super sick on my 18th birthday. Drinking age was 18 back then. So on my 18th birthday, and my birthday's on New Year's Eve.
Oh, wow.
I got so blown up, like brutally fucked up on cheap vodka and orange juice on my 18th birthday. It was alcohol poisoning. I was down for like 3 days.
Wow.
And so for years, even the smell of booze, I couldn't even be around it. The smell of it would turn my stomach. I was so sick from it. And all those formative years, most of the 80s, except for maybe once in a while, I would have like 3 beers and go crazy. But I didn't drink.
Wow.
All those years. It wasn't until the 90s rolled around. And it's funny because when I was writing my last book, the Access All Areas book, it's 23 stories, and a lot of those stories take place in the 90s. And I realized, I was basically drunk for a decade. I was pretty much raging, because that's when I had, instead of where most people did it from their late teens through their 20s, I skipped the decade, basically, and started in my 30s.
You started when everybody else was coming off.
Everyone else was already out of 2 rehabs.
What made you start?
I was starting.
Were you just bored?
I think it was a lot of things. I think it was, I first got into really good wine.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I remember it specifically because it was 1993 on Sound of White Noise, and we had a tour manager who was really into good wine. So through him, I had never drank wine in my life. I knew nothing about wine. And he would have a really nice bottle or two of wine every night after the show when we would sit and eat dinner. And I got into wine quickly because it was really good. And so I started drinking wine, but that was my thing, wine and beer only. Spirits were too much for me. The only time I would ever even get into spirits as if Dimebag was around. And I would like maybe fake a couple of shots, like take a sip and then like toss it when he wasn't looking. But then it was Daryl. It was in '97. So now I'm already 33 years old.
Yeah.
In '97, when
comes Daryl.
When we toured with Pantera, I decided I made an adult decision to go all in and basically have Daryl teach me how to drink. And as whatever he gives me, I'm going to do it. I don't care how crazy it is and how hard it is. And we spent like 2 or 3 months on tour together in '97, '98. And I went all in. I went from being a guy who literally had never done a shot of whiskey in his life, never even had Jack Daniels really. Oh, no, I lie. I had this one drinking episode with Lemmy in like 85 or 86, which is a whole other story.
Yeah, that's different.
Probably the reason why I never ever drank whiskey again until 1997.
Yeah.
But Daryl would do those Blacktooth shots with Crown and Coke.
Right.
And you have one and you're like, well, that was really easy. That was nothing. Yep. I could do another one of those and another and another and another. And it was like boot camp. The first week of that tour, I would be so unbelievably sick the next day and throwing up and headaches, and he'd get you right back. He'd make you get back on the horse. He'd like literally stick a Coors Light in your hand and go, drink that down right now. Drink it. I can't do it. And he'd go, drink it right now, Baldini. That was his nickname for me.
Yeah.
Drink it, Baldini. I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about. And I would like take the Coors Light and I'd force myself to like drink half of it down and then the other half. And as you probably know, that it kind of makes you feel better.
Yeah, man. Hair of the dog.
Yeah. And he'd look at me and go, feeling a little bit better, huh? And I'd be like, yeah, let's go do a shot. Like just like instantly. I turned into that guy at 33. And
that's
to
crazy.
The point where I was finishing a bottle of Crown myself,
wow,
like, on a nightly basis, and on top of endless beers and whatever wine Anselmo would pour down my throat, and it was nuts. I seriously, by 1998, I actually had if I had a superpower, it was drinking. My tolerance was unbelievable.
Yeah,
and you're talking about a guy who like never drank in his life.
That's so wild.
So, over the next 5 or 6 years, Pearl and I met in 2000 when Anthrax was opening for Motley, and Pearl was singing backup for Motley Crue, and we were both at the peak of our powers at that point in time as far as drinkers go.
Yeah.
She could
Look at her.
She could outdrink
throws
me.
Her arm up like,
and as much as I was drinking,
yeah,
she would double down on it.
Wow.
Like, and yeah.
Perfect for Motley.
Yeah, at the time, who were a sober band.
Oh, yeah.
So Pearl and the other backup singer would come hang out on our bus.
Oh, yeah, so they could party.
We had bottles of booze every night. So we became drinking buddies. That's how we first met. It was nothing romantic, although I had a massive crush on her from day one. But nothing happened on that tour because we were just drinking buddies. And I didn't want to ruin anything, basically, but like blowing it or something. But obviously... We've never been apart since, basically.
That's wild.
But those first years together, we fucking raged. We were living in Hollywood, and we raged hard, all the way through, probably till around 05-ish.
No powders?
No, never.
Wow.
Never for me.
Because that early speed metal
drugs.
scene was way, a lot of meth.
I saw so many
meth.
people... Yeah, that was way... I would never even... That was like that kind of chemical shit.
Weird?
I was like, no fucking way would I ever put that in my body.
It just seems so normal in that scene because it'd be like Jaeger, a bump of speed, and beers all night. And it wasn't... It was more like just so you could hang with your buddies and keep going.
I knew tons of people doing it. But even like... I'm talking about in the late 70s when...
Biker crank?
No. I'm talking about like people I knew who got into cocaine. Like like 15, 16 in the middle-class Jewish neighborhood I grew up in, and like kids in high school. I went to high school with that guy Jordan Belfort, the guy that Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh yeah, that guy.
That guy Jordy Belfort. Him and his whole crew. I went to school with all those dudes.
Wow.
They all had money. They were kind of upper-class Jews, and I knew a lot of dudes who were already getting into coke, and you'd be at house parties. And I hated the antisocial aspect. That's what I thought of as coke, because people would go hide and do it. They'd go in the bathroom and that whole thing. And then, of course, they wouldn't shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to talk to anyone anyway, unless we were talking about like Rudy Schenker's, riff, or I would hang out with my little clique of metalhead dudes, and you'd find yourself at some weird party, basically trying to meet girls, and people would be on coke, and I fucking hated it.
Yeah.
And it turned me off. Maybe I would have tried it if my experience around other people initially was better, but I hated the vibe so much. I was like, I'm never going to be that dude. Then, of course, when I met dudes in metal bands in the 80s who were doing it, it's the same shitty vibe.
Yeah,
so like,
yeah.
It wasn't just the Wall Street dudes.
No.
It's everybody.
Yeah,
everyone's a fucking asshole on cocaine.
Yeah, just in the corner, and then they're running over the story like, live in Budokan, dude.
Yeah, for the 50th time.
For the 50th time, yeah.
But yeah, and then of course when obviously when meth and crack and whatever else, I was basically just too chicken.
Right.
My attitude towards drugs was always, if I try that, I'll die. I'll be the dude who dies from it. Oh, you're not gonna die.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you don't know. I will die. I had one trip on mushrooms in my life.
Oh, did you like it?
Wrote a story about. Yeah, the first 2 hours were amazing.
Right.
And I'm not gonna go into the whole thing now, but it went way downhill and ended up with me in a limo full of quote unquote friends or people I barely knew, on the way to L'Amour's in Brooklyn to hear my friend DJ who was playing metal songs. And I freaked out so much I thought a girl in the car died, and I thought they were all trying to get me. I made the limo driver take me to a hospital.
Whoa.
Literally made the guy take me to the hospital in Prospect Park in Brooklyn. And what do I do with all these other people? I was like, I don't care. You're in on it too. Like, I was out of my mind. And of course,
you're in on it too.
Of course, at 6 a.m, I'm sitting there in the emergency room, sobering up. Just like, oh my God, what an idiot. Like, just what an idiot. There's people coming in with stab wounds.
Yeah. Did you tell them you're on mushrooms?
Well, yeah, when I was actually going to leave.
Yeah.
I was just going to leave because I was sober enough. I finally realized zombies aren't coming to get me.
Yeah.
There's not some plot to kill me. Like, I'm not throwing up. Like, I threw up all over everyone in the limo. It was like, I didn't feel like I was going to die anymore. I was convinced that's it. I'm dying. And I tried to jump out a car window. I tried to jump off a fire escape that night. It was really bad. I was leaving the emergency room. They finally called my name. I figured, fuck it, I'm here. I'll see the doctor. And I told him I ate psilocybin. And he said, okay, you're fine. And I had health insurance at the time. He said, I'm putting down that you got food poisoning.
Oh, man.
From bad mushrooms.
Bad mushroom.
In the salad. I was like, thanks, Doc.
Little Kaiser bad mushroom run. Let me ask you something. When you're first starting Anthrax, this is, of course, pre-internet or any kind of junk like that. I mean, everybody knows the famous story. Metallica comes to New York to do their record, and they stay at your studio and use your gear and all that. But what was your nucleus? How were you hip to the sound? Was it through fanzines and stuff, or were you just not even clue of what's going on in San Francisco at the time?
No, we knew.
Yeah.
We knew that.
How did you know? Tape trades?
Yeah. It was actually John Zazula.
Right.
He had a record store called Rock and Roll Heaven in New Jersey, and we used to go down there on the weekends and hang out because he had the best selection of metal stuff, imports from Europe and whatnot.
Kind of like the record vault, but...
exactly.
Yeah.
And it was sometime in 81 or 82.
How do you hear about that record store? Is it just word of mouth from kids?
Because out of the blue, we see an ad that Raven, Anvil, and Riot are playing a show together.
Rad.
Called the Headbangers Ball.
Wow.
This would have been, I guess, October of 82, I think. And like me and Danny Looker, the original bass player in Anthrax, we couldn't believe, like, and our crew of friends, how is Raven coming to New York?
Yeah.
Like, we were so, we used to read Kerrang and Metal Forces, and
of course.
And we were such big Raven fans, and we were massive Anvil fans, and we were Riot fans too. But we couldn't believe Raven was coming from Newcastle. Like, how the hell? Who knows about this? And it said a Rock and Roll Heaven, presents. What the fuck is Rock and Roll Heaven? We find out, it's a record store in New Jersey. So we buy tickets to the show, and we go to the show, and we're standing in line in the afternoon, and we had like a stack of Anthrax demos we were giving out to people in line, and there's some dude with a beard walking around handing out flyers for these 2 other Raven Anvil gigs that he had going on in the area, like in Jersey and Staten Island maybe. No, this was in Staten Island, like Jersey and Long Island or somewhere. But we found out that's Johnny Z. So we just went over. I went over and started talking to him. Like, dude, it's so cool. Wow, you were Raven. Oh, he's like, have you ever been to my store? You know, we're the biggest Raven fans, and we've got everything. You know, you got to come to the store. Where do you live? Like, we live in Queens. He's like, oh yeah, come drive down on the weekend. Blah blah blah. And yeah, we have a band called Anthrax. Here's one of our demos. Oh, cool. You know, yeah, we'll come. And that next weekend, we drove down there and started hanging out there every weekend. And it wasn't too long after that. We walk in and he's like, I got to play. We became friends right away. And he's like, I got to play you something. And he puts in the No Life to Leather demo. They had sent him a copy of it. And he's like, this is the best thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm bringing them to New York. We're going to make an album. I'm like, how are you going to do that?
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea. But I'm bringing them to New York, and they're going to play shows, and I'm taking them all my money out of the bank, and I'm going to make a record with these guys. We're figuring it out, like
incredible
as we speak, you know. And of course, as exciting as that was, I was super jealous too, because we're like, yeah, but we want you to do Anthrax.
What about us? Yeah, right.
And I actually said, well, what about us? He goes, well, if everything goes according to plan, we're going to start a record label, and you know, we'll sign you guys, and I'm signing Raven, and you know, we'll get the whole thing off the ground. He goes, but you're not ready. You're not ready. You're not as good as this. And
that's with Neil singing on your demos?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And I had to agree. I mean, that No Life to Leather demo was at the time miles ahead of where we were. We were still very much, it was Iron Maiden played a little bit faster and not as good. And you know, we were still 6 months away from really kind of figuring out where Charlie joined the band not long after that. And that really kind of, like in the Lebowski, the rug that ties the room together.
Yeah.
Charlie's drumming really kind of helped create what the Anthrax sound became. And that's what changed everything. And then we did a demo then. This is only like a few months later. And then Johnny's like, this is great. You know, let's do a 7-inch. And then that was in 83. But yeah, that's how I found out about Metallica. It was literally hearing No Life to Leather and being blown away by it. And then Johnny going, there's another band called Exodus from the Bay Area. They're amazing. I'm getting a demo from them, and blah blah blah. And you know, and we would find out about everything. That, and we had a zine called Kick Ass Monthly back in the day that would come out like once a month and had everything going on in the underground. And you know, and we would find out obviously about like you mentioned Merciful Fate earlier. They were like in 82. God, they fucking owned the world for us. They were like, to me, like that Nuns Have No Fun EP.
That was insane.
But they were like, oh my God. I was like, what is this? How does a band even sound like this?
I couldn't believe it myself. I couldn't believe it, actually.
Yeah,
it was
I mean, all of us were. When we met Metallica, when we met Slayer, when we met all these bands, you know, everybody's favorite band was Merciful Fate. Like almost to a man, everybody loved Merciful Fate.
That band is one of the greatest bands of all time. I mean, Don't Break the Oath to me is like an absolute masterpiece, you know?
It's amazing. For me, it's Melissa.
Right.
That record to me is just, it's like the blueprint of so much that, you know, so much of thrash metal. I know they don't really get the thrash metal tag.
Yeah.
But we were all listening to that so much of what we were doing, because once you filter it through, you know, my guitar playing, Hetfield's guitar playing, you know, Kerry's guitar playing, once you filter it, it changes. But I mean, look, Metallica, the covers they did not that long ago, the Fate covers. Fate meant so much back in the early days. You know, the guitar playing was on such another level. God, the record sounded so good. Like it's
crazy.
How do they do this? Like,
it really is crazy. And I mean, you know, the way King's singing, like nobody was doing that. You know, it was spooky as fuck. It really actually kind of scared me. I mean, I saw him at the Kabuki, and I remember being in there, and actually at one point I was like, oh, this is kind of freaky. And I was like a crazy dude.
Yeah.
But that seemed to me next level kind of Satan.
Right.
You know, you're kind of on the borderline, you know, Dangerous Meeting. That song, you're going like, whoa, what, you know.
I'm pretty sure, if memory serves, we met Slayer for the first time at a Merciful Fate show at L'Amour's in Brooklyn. Slayer was in town for something, you know, probably doing promo or something. And I remember having drinks with Jeff and Kerry at L'Amour's at a Merciful Fate show. It was the first time we had, you know, we of course knew of each other and had tons of mutual friends, but never actually hung out.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was at a Merciful Fate show.
What is, once you get going, here's one thing that I love about let's call it the Big Four or the Big Five, whatever, or even Death Angel, throw them in there.
Yeah.
If you listen to Anthrax, which I listened to a ton of it last night again and this morning, it's amazing how each band completely has their own sound. But your guys' sound is so unique and amazing to me that it's like, it's crazy to think how each band was right there and nobody copied each other.
We all developed into our own. That's what was so great about those Big Four shows, because as much as it's a celebration of metal in general, but it really did showcase the four bands and how different we all really were, yet all under the same flag of thrash metal. And so that way, anyone who's ever said that this type of music, this little branch of the tree that we grew, you know, way back when, people who, what is this bullshit, you know, or we always knew what we were doing meant something. I mean, how could you not feel that way about what you're doing? But we really did think of it on a different level of, this is for real. We're walking in the same footsteps as the bands that came before us. We truly believe that this music that we were making and the scene we were a part of was going to be just like the new wave of British heavy metal, you know, just like everything that came before us. We were going to be that. We were the next thing in metal.
Yep.
That's really like how we felt at the time, and we proved it. And and the fact that four bands coming from the same place with the same influences all developed their own sounds.
It's unbelievable.
So it just shows you it wasn't some small box that we were trapped inside, and we could they're just that speed metal crap or whatever. It's so different than that. There was so much room, and even other bands that you could say this, whether you want to put in Exodus and Death Angel and Testament and bands like Possessed, Merciful Fate.
Possessed.
I mean, I can make a list of 20 bands that I would all say from around that same time all developed their own sound and weren't clones of what came before. And that's I think that's the most important thing about what we were doing in the early days, is that none of us sounded alike.
Yeah.
We didn't sound like Metallica. They didn't sound like Slayer. Slayer didn't sound like us. They didn't sound like Megadeth. You know what I mean? We all sounded distinctly different as bands. And as we developed over the years, that distinction grew even more.
Absolutely.
As bands. So, and that's what was so great about those Big Four shows, was really showcasing that. I felt like it's not just going to be 6 hours of, you know, getting punched
just
in the face.
Same things.
It's four distinctly different bands all playing the same style of music, and I think that's so cool.
One of the things I love about you, and I'm a huge fan of you, is I felt like I really related to you over the years, because at the same time you were doing stuff, it was the same thing that was going on in my life. I'm a huge New York freak, as much as San Francisco and LA. And, you know, it was interesting how much Saturday Night Fever played a part in my life, just as much as metal and rock and stuff. But once you kind of, you know, of course, Aerosmith kicks open the door with Walk This Way and stuff. But once you bring in Public Enemy and all that, to me, it was just kind of like, oh, this guy gets it, because at the same time I'm listening to metal, I'm also listening to early hip hop, you know, even like, you know, from back then when kids were listening to like Kraftwerk and pop locking and dancing and getting into, you know, Rapper's Delight and that whole New York look of like the gazelle glasses and shell toes and all that. When you blow it up, open with Public Enemy, I'm just like, this is on, you know? I mean, I went to those tours. I went and saw it a few nights. One of them, Fresno. I went all the way to Fresno because I knew I could get backstage. I'd be like, yeah, I'll just be able to get back there.
The night we played Oakland was the night of the fire.
Oh, wow.
The giant fires in the hills.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Were that day. And as that was developing and it was turning into the massive, disaster that it was.
Yeah.
We had a sold out show at Kaiser, and I remember talking to Johnny Z saying, what do we do? Like, there's literally it's snowing ash here.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm calling Bill Graham right now. And he called Bill Graham and said, what are we doing? Are we canceling? Are we what's the plan? And Bill Graham was just straight up, no, we're not fucking canceling.
Oh.
It's the Bay Area.
Yeah.
People are going to come. Because we were worried, nobody's going to come.
Yeah.
They're closing highways. People are losing their homes. We can't play a show here.
Yeah.
And Bill Graham said, fuck that. We're playing the show. We're not canceling. And, all right, we're not going to argue with Bill Graham. He's been around a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
And, of 8,000 tickets sold, after the fact, Bill Graham's office said there was only about 300 no-shows.
Wow.
So that's what a testament to the fans to make it out on the night that Oakland was literally burning.
Yeah.
And they made it out for that show. It was insane. And an insane tour and a whole insane part of my life. Look.
My point is, though,
I got into rap music.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get into.
Because of Rapper's Delight.
Right.
And for one reason and one reason only. Because in when did that come out? 78?
Yeah,
79?
something like that. Queens is the headquarters of that.
Whenever that came out, basically, we would put that on at parties because girls would dance.
Right.
And that was the only... Girls weren't dancing to AC/DC.
Yeah.
Girls weren't dancing to the Scorpions. They
UFO.
Yeah, exactly. They weren't dancing to that. They weren't dancing. Not even Van Halen yet. This is long before Pretty Woman.
Yeah.
They weren't dancing to that. But if you put on Rapper's Delight, all the girls got up and danced. And then that gave you slightly more of a chance to possibly kiss a lady. So get them to have a drink.
The metal mentality.
Because there was no girls in our scene at all. So I got into that song. It was a good song. I loved the groove. I memorized all the words. I actually liked it.
Yeah.
Initially, there was an ulterior motive. But then I really liked it. And then it wasn't long after that for me when, Run DMC comes on the scene, their first initial early stuff in 81. And I was all over it, man. I was walking around the campus of St. John's University, where DMC went too. I was walking around, supposedly be going to college in the fall of 81 with my Walkman on, listening to Killers and Run DMC. What was the 12-inch I had? I put on cassette. I go to St. John's University. After 12th grade, I acquired the knowledge. After 12th grade, I went straight to college, took a test to become an MC. Early Run DMC. It's just like a beat and vocals.
Right.
And from a 12-inch, and that's all I listened to. Was Maiden. At the time was Maiden and Run DMC. I was obsessed with it. Fucking obsessed with it. And because the rap stuff was moving me the same way. I was into Curtis Blow and a lot of that other stuff too. But Run DMC, there was something about their voices that moved me the same way metal did. It became more, it wasn't a novelty anymore. It became real to me. And then, their first record comes out and it just fucking blew my mind. It just blew my mind. And that's all I cared about was metal and rap. For all those years. When I first heard Public Enemy, I got to hear the first record a little bit before it was actually out because we had friends who worked at Def Jam, and I'd go by the office a lot. And where do you hear this? And someone puts on Yo Bum Rush the Show, and I'm hearing My Uzi Weighs a Ton and Right Starter, and oh my God, Chuck's voice,
unbelievable, right?
The first time I hear Chuck's voice, this was probably in '87. I was just instantly, or earlier, because I was already wearing a Public Enemy shirt on tour in '87, because I wore one at the Donington Festival in '87 in the summer. So it had to be really early '87 maybe. And Chuck's voice was it. I thought that was the heaviest thing I heard in my whole life. heavier than anything I'd heard ever in music. Was his voice and his words was just like getting punched by George Foreman in the face over and over again. Like I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard in my life. And then of course Nation of Millions, which still to this day is the greatest rap record of all time and in my top 5 records of all time. Yeah, they were the greatest. And from the moment I heard him, I knew I had to work with this guy. Some way, shape, or form. It had to happen.
And how'd you get a hold of him? Through
well, we met.
Jeff Jam
we became friends.
Right.
Yeah, he came to see us. I think we met in the office probably the first time. And he knew of us because people who worked for Def Jam would show him photos of Anthrax live, and I'm wearing a Public Enemy shirt. And
right.
He'd just be like, mad respect, and all that. And so we kind of had a mutual admiration. And he was a fan as well. Chuck D grew up on classic rock as much as he did on R&B and soul. And so he became a fan as well. And then I think the first time he came to see us was in December of '87 at the Beacon Theater in New York. It was Anthrax Exodus. Oh, no. That show, well, I can't remember if it was Exodus and Celtic Frost or Metal Church and DRI at that one. Anyway, it was December of '87, and Chuck and Vernon Reed, I don't remember if they came together. They may have come to the show together, but Chuck and Vernon were at the show, and we're hanging out, before and after, and I couldn't even, I was like tongue-tied, just to, hang out with the dude, and just, just so cool to meet him, and he's a great dude, and I just knew, I was like, some way, someday, we're going to do something. And then it wasn't until 3 years later when we were tracking Persistence of Time out here at Conway Studios in L.A., and Charlie was done with his drums, and I said, don't break the drums down yet. I've got an idea. I had this idea. I had an arrangement in my head basically to cover Bring the Noise. And I said, what do you think of this? And I played the riffs and the parts, and Charlie and I just went out in the room and put it together in 10 minutes, put the arrangement together.
Wow. And
then we recorded it, put it down, just guitar and drums. And I was like, wow, this sounds really cool. And I was kind of rapping along with it. So here's how it goes. Here's the verse. Here's this. And we got to get this to Chuck, immediately. So, I called Chuck and said, we're going to send you this tape. We did an arrangement to Bring the Noise. We want to know what you think, and we really want you and Flav to do your thing on it. And he's like, yes, Scotty, send it out. And this is 1990, so we put a cassette in the mail.
Yeah.
And literally put a cassette in the mail and mailed it to him at his house on Long Island. And we were in L.A., so minimum 4 or 5 days.
Oh, yeah.
And we're waiting, and a week goes by, and we don't hear anything. And then Chuck finally calls me, and he's like, oh, man, this sounds so cool. This is really cool. What are you thinking? We're thinking you guys do Bring the Noise. He's like, all right, let me talk to Rick Rubin.
Right.
Right. So 2-3 days later, he calls me back, and he's like, we talked to Rick, and, we're kind of on the same page with that. We feel like it would be redundant to do Bring the Noise again. Why don't we create something totally new? Why don't we write something new to this, or something completely new from scratch? Either way, but let's do something new together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we could do that too. But I'm telling you, it's you just got to put the vocals down. It's going to work.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's redundant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God damn, Rick Rubin. You gotta right. So he's like, all right, man, let me listen to it again. And he hangs up, calls me back an hour later. He's like, Scotty, I'm sitting there singing along with it. This track is slamming, dude. It's on. We got to do it.
Yeah.
I get it. Doesn't matter what anyone else has to say. You guys feel so strongly about this. I hear you. Let's do it. And that was it. And it fucking snowballed from that point on, and turned into the song and the tour and the video and the tour and
the tour was incredible
and everything else. And it was it was just because I refused to fucking take no for an answer.
Yeah.
There's no way this was. Our own label wanted Island Records. They wanted nothing to do with it. They're like, they've got the finished track. Well, what do we do with this?
Wow. And that's
like,
coming from a label that had Bob Marley and was known as Bob Marley.
I know, but the problem was you got half Island, and ironically, we're on Island, Public Enemy's on Def Jam.
Oh, wow.
Of course, years later, Island and Def Jam would merge and become one label.
Yeah.
Which maybe that had something to do with us. But at the time, they're like, well, how are we going to do this? We're supposed to split it with Def Jam, and Def Jam's saying the same thing on their side to Public Enemy. Well, how are we going to work this out? And we're like, Johnny Z's like, we'll put it on our record, and Public Enemy we'll both put it on our records.
Yeah.
Like, and just whatever, we'll figure it out. And Johnny Z basically said to Island, he said, look, figure it out. Because if you don't, we're just going to release it ourselves on Megaforce and go fuck yourself. Yeah. Like, we're doing it no matter what.
Yeah.
So figure it out. If you want a part of it, great. If you want to be a part of history, great. If you don't, great. We're doing it anyway, right? And of course, they got their shit together and did it. But it was incredible, and everything happened so organically, because then, like, we had a day off in Chicago on the Clash of the Titans tour in that summer of '91.
God, I went to that.
Amazing. That's when we shot the video, because we had a day off in Chicago, and Chuck and Flav and they flew in. We shot the video that day, and we're in this like van on the way back to the hotel after the video shoot late at night, and everyone just had the best day ever. Fake playing Bring the Noise over and over again.
Yeah.
With this crowd going crazy and whatnot, and we're like, we got to do more of this. The world needs to feel this.
Yeah.
You know, and I said to Chuck, we got to do shows. He's like, anytime, anywhere, Scotty.
Wow.
And Johnny's like, I heard that.
Yeah.
I'm calling our agent right now. And that's literally, the tour was booked. 2 weeks later, we've got the tour booked. And it was that easy to put it together. And, you know, and you got us, Public Enemy, Primus, and Young Black Teenagers. And this is the same year they had the first Lollapalooza.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, I loved a lot of the bands on that show, but they called that alternative.
Yeah.
What was so alternative about having Jane's Addiction and Nine Inch Nails and Living Color? Most of these bands already had gold and platinum albums.
Right.
Right. Here we are, Anthrax, Public Enemy, and Primus, and Young Black Teenagers. That's a bit more of an alternative show, in my opinion. But we went out and did it ourselves and did amazing, you know.
Oh, well, the great thing was
5,000, 10,000 seaters. Irvine Meadows, where we shot the video, sold out. 15,000 people. Like, it was the coolest thing we'd ever done. And
the audiences were so... I talk about that because early on, when Metallica and, you know, Anthrax and Megadeth and Exodus are going, early on, it was that whole kill posers, only listen to metal, everything else must die. And right around that time of Lollapalooza and the Public Enemy thing, it blows open the doors to, like, everyone come just celebrate music.
Yeah.
And that is a wild thing, because then at the time, I think there's a lot of people that loved hip hop or disco or country or R&B or Prince and didn't want to say anything because their metal buddies would be. And then it was almost like you're the weight's off. I can like everything, you know.
Speaking of Prince, Gary Holt posted a photo of a new guitar that he's unveiling on Thursday, and it's like purple. It's his signature model, all purple, and on the back of the neck it says "Purple Rain," REIGN.
Wow,
which is so cool.
That's cool, man.
Gary loves Prince.
I love Prince.
Me too.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. A lot of doors opened in that year, in 1991. A lot of doors opened. Although, granted, we did that tour, and on most nights it was very similar. When Public Enemy was on, their crowd made up the first half of the floor. And the metal crowd was kind of from halfway to the back, let's say. And then when we would come on, it would switch, but nobody would leave.
Yeah.
That was the thing. It wasn't like the people were leaving. Like Public Enemy's crowd.
I think they wanted to see something.
Public Enemy's crowd didn't leave when they were done. They stayed and watched Anthrax. And then at the end of the night, when we would get together and do Bring the Noise at the end of our show, you'd see 3,000 light bulbs go off over people's heads, like literally. Oh my God, I get it now, because it would be some of the biggest hits you've ever seen. And you know, I bet you there's thousands of people who their first time ever in a circle pit was when Anthrax and Public Enemy played together, because they're like, that looks like so much fun, and they jumped in, and never looked back. And it also wasn't like, we're not talking about thousands of black people.
No,
it was white suburban kids who weren't into metal. They were hip hop kids,
absolutely,
college kids. We played a lot of college halls and college basketball halls on that tour. Because I said to Chuck beforehand, what do you think it's going to be like, with the black and white audience? He said, there ain't going to be no black audience.
Yeah.
He said, depending on who we tour with, that depends on what the audience is. If we're out on a rap tour, yeah, it's going to be 90% black people coming to the shows. But Anthrax, Public Enemy,
it's going to be the white Public Enemy.
He's like, mark
fans,
my
right?
words, guy, the crowd's going to be 95% white.
Wow.
And he was right. 100%. Like, it was all white hip-hop kids coming who had never experienced anything like what we were doing.
Yeah.
But definitely got into it. And then good timing for them, because not long after that, Rage Against the Machine comes along and, breaks the door down.
Big time.
And creates that whole world. So
Yeah. I saw Public Enemy on the Fear of the Black Planet tour, which is my favorite Public Enemy record.
Great record.
And also Spike Lee, Do the Right Thing. I think it's just a 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because I saw Public Enemy, Digital Underground at the Shoreline, and I was one of the few white guys there.
Right.
And people were coming up to me asking me where the bathroom was. They thought I worked there. You know what I mean? Like, hey, where's the bathroom at? I was like, that way.
I remember going to shows in '87, like the Def Jam tour with like LL and the Beastie Boys and Houdini and whatnot at Madison Square Garden, sold out. And then the only white people there were me, well, the Beastie Boys, of course, but me, Rick Rubin, and like maybe some of the Murphy's Law guys were there. My friend Scott Koenig. It's just that, but nobody fucked with us. Nobody cared.
No, not at all.
About being there and having
not
fun.
Not at all. Speaking of Rick a lot, I always was interested in how it seemed like, you guys worked with Eddie Kramer, and Among the Living is like sonically, when you put that fucking thing on, it's like, wow. But you never really, and then Dave Jordan, of course, who was the king of grunge on Sound of White Noise.
Sure.
But you never really seemed to seek out like a big producer, did you guys? Like no Rick Rubin ever.
I thought Eddie was pretty big.
Oh no.
Besides them.
Besides Eddie, of course, Eddie and Dave Jordan at the time's huge too.
Dave
but
Jordan
I'm just
was
saying,
massive. Yeah.
like it seemed.
Jane's Addiction, Alice in Chains.
Oh yeah, Dirt. You know, but I'm saying like other than that, it's if you look at it after that or even before that, was it because there's no money or
no? We kind of knew what we wanted.
Right.
We didn't need someone else to come in and put their stamp anymore on a record. I think pretty much after we made Stomp 442, we worked with the Butcher Brothers, and who were basically rap producers outside of Philly. And after we made that record with them, I think we had learned enough as guys in a band to know, not necessarily, we're not going to go self-produce and make our own records, but we were able to work with engineers after that were good enough to basically get what we wanted and make it sound great. We didn't need someone else to come in and have another opinion and or put their thing on it. We had our thing.
Right.
We knew what we were looking for. And certainly in the last few years working with Jay Rustin, on the last 2 albums and the Big Four record and all that, we know exactly how to do what we're doing and why we're doing it and what the end result is going to be. And it takes all that question out of it because we don't need someone else to come in and do it.
Especially at this age.
We're not suddenly gonna make a jazz record.
Yeah.
That's not gonna happen. We don't need someone to come in and help us with that. The next record is gonna be even more down the same path that the last record was. If you liked the stuff on the last 2,
For All Kings,
the next one is gonna go even more in that direction. There's fucking killer riffs already that we have. So we never needed somebody to come in and do that for us. I felt like certainly after Dave Jordan and the Butcher Brothers, we had worked with guys who were really great at a lot of things and we kind of absorbed everything we needed from those guys and
pick up knowledge and bring it guns,
really
bullets in the chamber.
To look elsewhere after that. Yeah.
S.O.D.
Yeah.
Not talked about much anymore. It couldn't be probably a record that could not come out these days.
Yeah.
It's funny because I look at the new GNR Appetite box and they've left off 1 in a million, and you're getting everything, which is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
But the chemistry, I tell people most bands that have lightning in a bottle, it's all chemistry and timing and everything. And that S.O.D. thing could be one of the greatest records out of that era ever.
Yeah, lightning in a bottle or stupidity in a bottle.
I get it. Right? There's a lot of it.
No, I'm not saying it because the political incorrectness or anything about it.
Right.
The whole point behind that record was to make ourselves laugh.
Right.
It was just 100% an inside joke.
Kind of like Metallica with Spastic Children at the time. You know what I mean?
But
a joke, fun thing.
Yeah. Literally writing songs to make ourselves laugh.
Right.
That's all it was. We would literally say to each other, sometimes Danny and I, because I had written like 10 of the songs. If you're not familiar with this record, it's S.O.D. stands for Stormtroopers of Death, and the name of the album was Speak English or Die. And the whole album was like 22 minutes long.
Yeah.
24 songs or something. And I was super bored. We were making Spreading the Disease, and my guitar tracks were long finished, and we had started that record. We didn't even have Joey in the band yet. Like, it was a long process making that album. And I had a lot of free time on my hands up in the studio in Ithaca, New York. And I started drawing a cartoon strip of this zombie that hated everyone. He wasn't racist. He hated anything living.
Yeah.
Because he was dead, and he just hated anything alive. And I would draw these comic strips and hang them around the studio just to make people laugh. And there was, super. That's the Speak English or Die thing. Literally came out of a Sergeant D comic strip that I had drawn, and then I started writing these songs based around, because I didn't know how to make a comic book, but I knew how to make an album. So I started writing these really ridiculous songs.
Yeah.
And I had like 10 of these songs done, very much in a hardcore vein. And
full on hardcore.
Yeah, and then I called Danny Lilker, and I said, "Hey, man," because Danny already had Nuclear Assault going, and we're both in the New York hardcore scene.
Cro-Mags, is that what's kicking that off?
Agnostic Front.
Yeah, Agnostic Front.
Agnostic Front was my first. That's the first band I ever saw live at a New York hardcore show, and I love the Cro-Mags. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But AF for me they were my gateway, and we even covered as our demo to get a deal for S.O.D. Me, Charlie, and Frankie from Anthrax. We recorded Hear Nothing, See Nothing, Say Nothing from Discharge and Last Warning from Agnostic Front with me singing.
Wow.
And I called it The Diseased.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I sent it to Johnny Z, and I said, we want to make a hardcore side project. He goes, do it. It's on. I'll put it out on Megaforce.
Wow.
No problem. And then that morphed into, we already knew we weren't going to do these covers, but I didn't know how comfortable he would be if I would have sent him Speak English or Die and, Milk.
Yeah.
Like, he'd be
Pussy
like,
Whip.
What the fuck is this,
Yeah.
Yeah, like Pussy Whipped or something like that. Like,
What
he
a-
might not have gotten it initially, but in the context of the whole thing, he definitely got it. But I called Danny and I said, I'm writing these really dumb songs. It's like right up our alley, because me and him used to sit around when we were teenagers and just come up with the stupidest shit ever. And it was right out of what we used to do, like when we were 16, 17, sitting around jamming and making ourselves laugh. So he took a bus up to Ithaca from the city, and we spent like the next 3 days together and wrote 14 more songs. And we had this 24 song.
Lyrics and everything?
Lyrics and everything.
Wow.
Done.
Wow.
24 songs, like done. I think I wrote all the lyrics pretty much. And then we just had it on our calendar. Basically, as soon as Anthrax is done mixing, spreading, whenever that is, we're going to go in and do S.O.D. Because
Same studio.
Yeah, all the Anthrax gear was set up.
Wow.
So we wouldn't have to deal with setting up and getting sounds and that whole process.
Is that the studio where Kill 'Em All was done?
No, Kill 'Em All was done at Barrett Alley in Rochester, New York.
Gotcha.
Where we were supposed to do Fistful of Metal, but we got there and they had no mixing board. They were waiting for a new one to come in. It was late. So we had to get in the U-Haul and we found this studio in Ithaca, a couple hours away, and that's how Alex Perry-Alice and we discovered that studio, Anthrax, and put them on the map. And then Johnny Z started putting all the bands in there to do records. But we finished. I'm pretty sure the time frame is we finished Spreading the Disease on like June 30th, 1985. We were done. On July 1st, S.O.D. had one rehearsal.
Wow.
In the room. Billy came up. We had one rehearsal, the four of us, on July 1st. We recorded July 2nd and 3rd, all music, all vocals. We took July 4th off for a barbecue. And then Alex mixed the whole record on July 5th.
How was Billy chosen? Did you know him from the scene? Was he?
I knew him, yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Was he like a Bailoff kind of guy back then? Like a big personality that everybody knew him? I mean, how did you choose him?
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure it was the first or second Agnostic Front show I ever went to. And back in the days at CBGB's, long hairs didn't go to the hardcore show. Unless you were a Lower East Side guy and a known guy already down there with long hair. But if you were a kid coming from Queens with long hair and they didn't know you, odds are you getting your ass kicked.
Wow.
It's just the way it was at the time. That was the scene. And we knew it, but I had to go. So finally it was my friend Robert and I, he was a friend of mine who was just as into it as I was. I said, look, Agnostic Front's playing on Sunday. We got to go. Yeah. We'll stand in the back. If someone like wants to, we'll just fucking run. We'll just run. Like, what's the worst that could happen? Yeah. We'll just stand in the back right by the door, and if anyone even looks at us cross-eyed, we'll just run. You know, we'll just get the fuck out of there. So we did. We got the fucking balls up, and we did. We took the train down to CB's. We stood 2 blocks away because everyone in the afternoon, everyone would hang out outside. Yeah. We were like 2 blocks away, far away. Like nowhere near, you know, looking at like 300 skinheads standing around outside. And then we waited for Agnostic Front's going to go on and everyone goes in and we went in, we waited for everyone to go inside. And then we walk in and stood right at the back, you know, and once the lights went down, the band was on, we kind of moved our way a little because you can't see shit from the back, but moved our way to the front, not in the pit by any means, but towards the, like the back of the pit area. And where we could at least see it. And at some point after the show, nobody fucked with us. Nobody said a word. Nobody could care less. And we were kind of hanging around after the show, and this guy comes through the crowd, this kind of burly-looking skinhead dude, comes walking up to us. I'm like, oh, my God, we're dead. Yeah, yeah. Like, we're fucking dead. This guy's going to kill me. And this guy just kind of loudly says, hey, aren't you in that band Anthrax? Because Fistful of Mel was out already. Right. Uh-huh. Yeah. Like, is that a good thing? Yeah. Maybe? Yeah. He's like, cool, it's really cool that you're here. You want to meet the guys in Agnostic Front? Whoa. Yeah. Right? Come on. Come with me. I'm Billy. I play in the Psychos. Wow. Right? Cool. Nice to meet you. Right? And we follow this dude backstage and we meet the guys at Agnostic Front, Roger and Vinny and Kabula, and I don't remember who was drumming for him at the time, but we were like hanging backstage for half an hour with these dudes, and they couldn't have been nicer to us. And I remember Roger being like, it's so cool that you came to see us, you came down here. I'm like, yeah, we were actually scared. Yeah. And I said, like, we were always told that long hairs would get their asses kicked, and Billy's like, you would. You know, I probably would be the guy to do it, but you're in that band Anthrax. Right? I was like, holy shit, you know. Anyway, they were like, you're welcome down here anytime. You like, come, nobody will fuck with you. Wow. If they fuck with you, they gotta fuck with me. You know, that was Billy's attitude, and that was it. The floodgates open, and I must have went to every hardcore matinee for a year straight because we weren't touring yet. Yeah. Really, 84, 85, 86. So for 2 years, I lived at CBGB's, man. Every Sunday, if I was home, I was there, and that was a lot of Sundays. And, you know, I must have seen 60, 70 hardcore shows. You know, it was those daytime awesome shows, right? Yeah, Sunday matinees. Yeah. And goddamn, one of the best times of my life. Seeing bands, you know, just in their element at the beginning, in in this scene, that was just so unbelievable. And I always, as much as I loved it and as much as I dove in headfirst to that scene, literally and figuratively, because stage diving was a lot of fun. I was always just an outsider looking in. I never claimed, because all these dudes I became friends with were guys that they lived in squats.
Yeah.
These are guys that were in gang fights in Tompkins Square Park for years. Guys that had been down on the Lower East Side since 79, 80, and I didn't even go to a show till 84 or something. So, I was always in that sense, I was there in the early days and I got to see a lot of shows, but I wasn't from that core group of kids.
I was the same way.
Who had been down there so early on, but I was friends with all of them.
Yep.
I became friends with all those guys. Long-lasting friendships with some dudes I'm still friends with now. So yeah, I look back on those times as some of the best times of my life.
So you track the record and you think right away, Billy? Like,
so sorry.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Good,
Yeah,
no.
I forgot what the question was. We were no, we hadn't tracked the record yet, but we had the songs written. From the time we wrote the songs till we tracked the record, there's a few months in between.
Right.
And I was home back in the city and at a show, and I'd been hanging out with Billy for a while now. I had seen his band play a bunch. He played bass in this band called the Psychos, and he was just such a character, man. He had such a great energy about him. He was great on stage, even though he was playing bass. He was great on stage. He had no problem expressing himself to people. And I just knew he would bring Sergeant D to life.
Yeah.
If there was one guy who could bring this comic book, larger than life, crazy character to life, it was Billy. He was just the right guy, man. Like from the Brady Bunch, Johnny Bravo, he fit the suit. And, Lilker and I talked about it. He's like, oh man, Billy would be great. He would be fucking awesome. He's definitely got the mouth. And so we asked him one day, we were like, hey man, we've got this thing, this idea, this project. We've got all these songs written, and he was totally into it. I got some songs too, because Billy wrote Pi Alpha Nu and No Turning Back. Those were his songs.
Right.
And he just out of friendship and out of thinking, this guy's fucking awesome. This guy's so fucking awesome. He needs to front our band. He's great. I've never seen him sing before. Who knows if he could even, but he's fucking awesome. We just knew he was the right guy.
Yeah.
And he was. He fucking nailed it. He was amazing.
Were you surprised how that thing took off? Because, that thing was, I would go to parties, man, and that record was on everywhere. Cassette tape, there.
But it didn't at first.
Yeah. I guess it did for me around Bay Area.
Because it came out in, like fall of 85, I think. Because we played like 7 shows in the New York area, and then that was it, because Anthrax was getting busy. The last show we played was like that Christmas show at the Ritz in 80. Oh God, was that 85 or 86? I don't remember now. It was Motorhead and Wendy O. Williams, S.O.D, and the Cro-Mags.
Wow.
But,
what a bill. What a bill.
So when did it come out? Anyone could Wikipedia it.
Yeah.
Anyway, when it first came out, it didn't really do much. It didn't go gangbusters like from the minute it came out. But it started to pick up steam, certainly. And then Anthrax was on tour with Spreading the Disease in 86.
Yeah.
Which certainly kind of, oh, wait, you guys did S.O.D too? And so certainly by the end of 86, it had taken on a life of its own.
Absolutely.
And had become bigger than we ever thought. We thought we made a comedy album that we made ourselves laugh with. And that, yeah, if people get the joke, cool. But, it's like we had zero expectations.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. And, as it's like selling like crazy, and there's more and more demand for it, and Anthrax is on tour, and Danny's on tour with Nuclear Assault. And of course, Billy, certainly there was frustration for him because we've got this fucking golden goose and we can't do anything with it.
Right.
Because of our other schedules. And, then of course he put together MOD, so at least then he would have an outlet to go do it, makes the MOD record and go do it. But yeah, I love the success of that record. I love that people love the album. I love that people took it. Most people took it. the right way
Right.
and understood that I'm not a Nazi,
Yeah.
which I think is pretty easy to understand. And we did have our share of stupidity where I guess some people thought we were that, and we would actually get Christmas cards from white power organizations and
Wow.
wishing you a white Christmas with a dude Sieg Heiling on a Christmas card. And
Wow.
I mean, we were pretty clear when we would play shows. And then certainly in 99 and 2000 when we finally did go out and tour the world on the Bigger Than the Devil record. And you'd have idiots, you'd have white power dudes Sieg Heiling at us, and Billy would give them one warning.
Yeah.
He would tell them once, you put that fucking hand down or I'm going to break it.
Wow.
And there were nights when shit happened. That's all I'm going to say. But if Billy warns you once to put
Yeah.
your hand down,
Yeah.
you fucking Nazi scumbag.
Yeah.
My father fought in World War II, like literally.
Yeah.
You should probably put your hand down. And I saw some people on the wrong end of a very big meaty fist.
Wow. You ever see Billy anymore?
I haven't seen him in years. We have random email communication. I've got no issue with Billy at all.
Yeah.
And I'm,
I was wondering about that.
whatever. There's not enough time
There's
on
not.
Earth to have problems. Like, I don't care. If
Yeah.
someone has a problem with me, it's not my problem. I don't have a problem with anybody as far as I know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, life's too short, honestly.
It really is.
And I would absolutely do SOD again if the situation was right and it felt like it was in the spirit of, of what the band is about. I would definitely do it again. I would love to go play some festivals. I would love to go play Euro festivals. We did it in 99 and 2000, and it was fucking awesome.
That'd be crazy.
Such jackasses.
Yeah.
There's some video I found not that long ago of us from the With Full Force Festival in Germany where we decided to take the piss out of Manowar because Manowar would ride on stage in their Harleys and like hold swords and do their Manowar salute to the crowd. And they were playing on the same show as us that day. And so we're like, let's be total idiots. And we saw these guys backstage riding, those super mini bikes?
Oh, yeah.
Those super tiny ones?
Yep.
So there was two of them. So me and Billy rode out on those two tiny little bikes and then stood there in front of the crowd and did the Manowar salute. And Billy started singing Kill With Power. And the fucking crowd loved it. Like 25,000 people just losing their minds over, because we could get away with shit like that.
Yeah.
It's a fucking joke. It's a joke. If you can't laugh at it, you're wrong.
Yeah. It's a tough world in this PC world, It's a different world, right? It
is and it isn't.
Yeah.
Look, I haven't changed the way I live my life because I've never lived my life like an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way I look at it. I have a just as dark sense of humor now that I ever have. I'm as unpolitically correct now as I've ever been. But I've also never been a Nazi. It's not like I've got some past that I need to apologize for. I've never done that. There's certain lines I don't cross ever. And I'm talking even humor-wise or just in life. Like I find the N-word to be just something that it's a word I don't even want in my mouth.
Absolutely.
And I know plenty of people who say that word, and sometimes I'll say to them, it's fucking. Besides the fact that it's completely racist, no matter what context you think you're using it in. If Chuck D was standing here right now, would you use that word in front of him? I'd fucking dare you.
Yeah.
Let's see, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Let's see you say that to Ice Cube.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Be my guest. You get away with that, carte blanche, use it as much. Go ahead after that. You need to pass that test first, motherfucker.
I never understood racism because I grew up in the Bay Area. You grew up in New York City.
Exactly. No, I understood it in the sense that I went to public schools in New York City filled with every race, country, color, and creed that existed, and you had white kids fighting black kids. That shit existed, certainly. It's always existed. It existed in the 70s. I knew stupid kids who would there would be whites against blacks, like rumbles after school in the fucking 70s. I'd be like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life.
Exactly.
Like, they don't belong in our school. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Is that your school, first of all?
Yeah.
It's called a New York City fucking school district. But Yeah, same thing. You know, so look, as far as the politically correct times, I understand what is going on in the world. And there is, I think, because of the current administration, there's a sensitivity level that's just gone way, way up.
Way up.
Because you got a guy in office who just doesn't give a fuck about that. And I'm the same way in some ways, but, you know, I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for? I guess, look, there's funny and there's not funny. And
Absolutely.
Of course, that just comes down to the individual. You know what I mean? It's like everything funny to you is not going to be funny to someone else, and everything funny to me is not going to be. And what one person does is okay. Or I get it. I fucking understand. There's just certain things, there's certain lines in my life that I won't cross. S.O.D. for me, when people will be like, whoa, so you think making fun of people that don't speak English? And I'm like, yeah, but you got to understand. This was a character. I was writing for a character. This isn't how I feel as Scott Ian. I created a guy named Sergeant D, who I was writing a comic book about, and I wrote songs based on it. And if you don't get it, go fuck yourself. That's basically, I will never apologize.
You know,
because that's where it comes from.
You know what's amazing about that record is how catchy the songs are. No matter what you were saying, like let's say if it was different lyrics or whatever, but man, these things were like had monster fucking hooks in them, man. It was amazing. Yeah. You know?
Well, I mean, I don't mean to downplay it in any sense of the word, because I love that record.
Right.
I fucking love it. I think it's one of the best. It is lightning in a bottle. We could never do it again because we didn't even try on Bigger Than the Devil because you can't repeat it.
Nope.
We're not going to try and do the same thing and make a record in 3 days. It's impossible.
Yeah.
But it's so of its time. It's so of its moment. Yet it still holds up. It's one of those crazy things that it's from 1985 and it still holds up. I listen to that now. It sounds like we could have made it yesterday.
Yeah.
It's got such an energy about it. So when I say not to downplay it, because we really were trying to be as dumb as we were really being the biggest fucking hammerheads, the dumbest just caveman like parts, and like, but yet brutal.
Yeah.
Right? Cavemen are brutal, right?
Yeah.
That's what we were going for. We wanted to be the most caveman brutal, drag you outside and beat you with a fucking club. That's what S.O.D. That's what we were going for. We would literally sometimes say it's not dumb enough. Like, no, these lyrics, it's too smart. It's too smart. Like literally stupider. It's got to be stupider. It's got to be dumber than this.
That's amazing.
Like, and we'd like, I push myself to be dumber.
Man. You did a spoken word tour, which is something, a dream of mine, like a storytelling show. Right. Ever since I saw Rollins do it like 20 years ago at UC Berkeley, I was like, could be one of the most amazing formats there is for people. When you went and did it, what was it, a couple years ago?
First one, it's got to be 4 or 5 years ago now.
When you sat down and did it,
5 years ago.
Was it kind of like the blueprint of like you saw Rollins, okay, I'm going to go out and tell these great stories? Because I have a lot of stories from my life, and they're hard to tell over and over and over the years because they don't mean as much to me anymore as they do to other people. So I kind of forget how they go or what the bullet points are. But how did you sit down and practice that? Because did you just go do it?
I didn't.
I remember hitting you up like, I want to open that tour on
that's
Twitter.
Right. I mean, I'm a massive Rollins fan and have been forever.
Me too.
Saw him early on, first time I ever saw him talk, it was in a small club. And I loved it. I was blown away. He did 3.5 hours. Never once. Like I was just on the edge of my seat for 3.5 hours. It was amazing. But then that was in the 90s.
Right, exactly.
I remember thinking that would be really fun to do, but I never acted on it, ever. Just kind of went out of my head. But did see Rollins on tour many times doing his talking thing. And but then it fell in my lap. I don't know, it was 13 or 14, whenever it was. Our agent in Europe wrote me and said, hey, these guys want to bring you over to London and to do a show, like a one-man show thing. You into that? It's called Rock Stars Say the Dumbest Things or something, and they're going to do a series of them once a week, and they've got Duff McKagan, and they've got a bunch of different dudes doing them, and I wrote them back. I was like, well, how am I going to do that? I can't get on stage with an acoustic guitar and sing Anthrax songs. I'm not the singer.
Right.
It's like, no, dummy. They want you to get up and tell stories.
No, dummy.
Oh. I literally thought they meant like one man show, me on a stool with a guitar, and I'm going to sing Caught in a Mosh.
Right,
like,
yeah.
It's not going to work.
Paul, back to your Paul Simon
Yeah.
riffs.
And so I was like, yeah, okay. Stories, huh? And I just said, yes, I want to do it. I'm in.
Yeah.
Count me in. And it worked out because we were starting an Anthrax tour with Motorhead, I think it was. So it might have been 2012. I don't remember. Anyway, so I was going to be there anyway. And so I said, yeah. And I had like 9-10 months. This was months and months out, right? So I knew in my head, I've got some time to figure this shit out, right? And I was like, all right. And then I just like forget about it.
Oh.
And months go by. And at some point, I'm like, oh, I got to do that talking show in like 4 months.
And
Shit.
how long is it? A half hour?
No, as long as I want.
Oh, as long as you want.
Do whatever I want.
Wow,
right?
okay.
So, all right, forget about it again. Shit, I got that talking show in like 2 months. I better start planning what the hell I'm going to do. Another month goes by, literally down to like 2 weeks before now. Holy shit. What the hell am I going to do? Right? What the hell am I going to do?
Yeah.
So now I'm shitting my pants, right? Leading up to, so I start thinking about, okay, I've got this story, I got this Lemmy story, and I got this really fun, I think it was a Dimebag story. I don't remember the initial ones, but I came up with like a list of stories that I felt like I had told enough to friends in bars.
Yeah.
And they're great stories and people always laugh. I'll just get on stage and do that. I got it. I got this, right? I got it. The night before the show, I'm in London. I'm with Pearl. We're in the hotel room. I'm so nervous about having to do this that I'm about to email my agent and say, cancel the show.
Wow.
I can't do this. There's no way I could get on stage and do this. Just tell them I'm sick.
Yeah.
And really, no harm, no foul. If I cancel this show, it's not like I'm an established talking show guy. No one even knows what they would have got. Like, who cares? The show's, they'll get their money back. It's all good, right? And I'm about to call him to cancel the show. And Pearl's like, you're not canceling. You're going to do it. You can do this. I've heard you tell these stories so many times. You're so good at telling these stories. Just shut everything else out and make believe you're standing in the bar with Kenny and Andy and so on, and you're just telling a story from your life. I'm like, okay. Because I didn't want to pussy out. Like, I didn't want to. I got to do this. So it still didn't help the nerves. And it gets to the next night, and I'm backstage, and I'm waiting, and there's like 200 people probably at this club in London.
Yeah.
And
are they seated?
Yeah, seated.
Oh, good.
And I'd never, ever been this nervous in my life. I mean, I'm shaking the microphone.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm backstage about to go on.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to be cool, and I'm talking to some of my friends that are at the show, and when they're backstage with me, and I have a beer to just try and calm myself a little bit. And I'm trying to be cool, but I'm fucking flipping out.
Right.
To the point, like, I don't know how, I don't even know I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
Oh, and so I had come up with an opener, right? This is like a couple of weeks earlier. I'm thinking, how do I open my show?
Yeah.
I don't do this. I'm not a stand-up. I don't know how to do this. I feel like I needed an opener. And I came up with this idea where, what if I walked out on stage and I read from someone else's book, but make people think it's from my book?
Yeah.
Right? Like I wrote this from my forthcoming book or something. So
That's funny as fuck.
so I found out, all right, I somehow Anthony Kiedis' book, I come across that. First chapter, it's him talking about being in his house in the Hollywood Hills, and this girl comes over and she injects him with this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. Because no one will ever expect that from me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when was he a junkie?
Yeah.
And all this. And turns out it wasn't even drugs at the time. In Kiedis' book, it was actually like ozone or something that he was getting injected with. Like, talk about having too much money.
Yeah.
And So anyway, I'm shitting my pants, and I walk out there, and I've got like my phone in my hand, and I'm like, hi, I'm just super low key, right? But I mean, literally, you could see there was video. You could see the mic shaking in my hand, and I'm like, super low key. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. I would just like to take some time with you guys, and just read something. And I mean, I know people are probably thinking like, what the fuck is this going to be? Yeah. What kind of show is this? I spent 20 pounds. What is this going to be, right? And I sit on a stool, and I've got my phone, and I'm just like, I put my glasses on, and I'm like, and I know I'm playing off good, but I'm still just nervous.
Yeah.
And I just start reading, sitting in my living room, and I read this whole tale about this woman coming over and I don't get to the ozone part. I just kind of leave it as I start to nod out on my couch, and all that, and then I stop and I turn off my phone, and it's fucking silence. Silence, and now I know I got him by the balls, right? Yeah. And I just take my glasses off, and I kind of move my chair out of the way, and I stand up, and I get the microphone, and I go, you motherfuckers think that was about me, don't you? And they're all kind of like, you could get the like, huh? I'm like, I'm not some fucking I'm not some fucking junkie. This is Anthony Kiedis' book, Scar Tissue. And the whole crowd, just like the exhale of laughter that I got them on. Because I had people for like 5 minutes thinking, people who've known me for years going, when? Oh my God,
when was that?
I had no idea you had it. People came up to me afterwards. We literally thought you had like a heroin problem. How did we not know about that? Like, and then I had him by the balls, and then that was it. It's like all the nerves drained out of my body, and I was on stage for 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Telling stories.
Wow.
I had the time of my life. And I walked off stage with this smile on my face, like the Joker. And my agent, Dan, and I said, I got to do this again.
Yeah.
I'll do it tomorrow. Like, I got to do this again. And then that's how we ended up putting that whole UK tour together. And like, I wish I could do it more. It's not 100% confirmed yet, but it's super close. We should have the contracts next week. Looks like I'm going to Australia in September.
Wow.
And I'm doing a talking tour in Australia, which I'm fucking excited about.
Yeah, man.
I've done 2 talking shows down there years ago when we were on tour, and they went great, as one-offs, and they were amazing. And now I get to do a tour, and I'm really excited. I haven't done it in so long, so I, of course, start getting nervous again. Like, you got to get that. You know how it is. You're a stand-up.
Yeah.
If you don't do your thing, you get rusty, right?
I go on every night because of that.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do a talking tour, but I wanted to do it with somebody else. That's why I hit you up, because I've never done it. And I have told these stories. I have a lot of rock stories like you, and also life stories, And seeing Rollins, it was one of the most flooring things I've ever seen in my life. Like you said, he spoke 3 hours, and I didn't even notice one thing about it. But I thought the safety net would be to be on kind of a tour where I could, go out and do it, and then another guy does it, and that way, you know.
I hear. Well, maybe we can do shows together at some point.
I would love to,
because I'm definitely going to do more U.S. next year.
Yeah.
For Anthrax, should be an off-cycle year because we'll start writing.
Yeah.
So we really won't be touring next year. So my plan for sure is to book a bunch of talking shows next year.
I would do that in a minute. It's my dream to do it.
Cool.
You know, you love stand-up comedy.
I love stand-up comedy.
You came to this. Well, of course, you played the show,
right?
With the Bon Scott tribute I did, and you were fucking amazing.
Thank you.
And I love your attention to detail. Exact to me. I'm not the best singer ever, but what I love about it is, of course, the danger and stuff.
It was so great. You do a great Bon.
I always thought, if I could just do this for 2 weeks, it would be great.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
Once you get it up, because there's so much. I mean, we rehearse for 2 hours, then you're doing fucking 15 songs, and you really learn the animal later on down the road of the nuances of Bon and everything. But, it's. I know you love AC/DC, and I do too, which was incredible.
Yes.
And it was great to have you on. And that was 40 years last week of Power Age, which is crazy.
That's amazing. Yeah, 78. Wow.
Right?
That's so crazy.
I think about my dream now is to do it one more time at the Forum
Yes.
40-year anniversary of Bond's death.
Right.
Never do it again after that, but 40 years form. Have like big bands like, Anthrax.
Yeah, you could get big people. I mean,
Queens of the Stone Age.
and some of the, dude, you had Bill Burr.
Yeah, right.
Sell quite a bit of tickets on his own, too. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if we got like Foo Fighters involved, stuff like that. And I'm talking one massive Bon Scott fucking blowout.
Yeah. That would be amazing.
Are you a comedy guy?
I'm in for sure.
Yeah, that would be great to have you on. Are you a stand-up comedy guy? You sit around and watch it? Because I know early on, of course, you had that song, John Belushi. I was a huge John Belushi fan, and you guys had that Ode to Nice
Always
Fucking
been
Life.
into stand-up. And then when I first moved to Hollywood, because I moved to L.A., I lived in Huntington Beach till like 97.
Wow.
And from
That's strange.
89 to 97. And then I moved to Hollywood, and I lived right around the corner from Largo on Fairfax.
Oh, rad.
So I found out, like, just randomly, like in the LA Weekly, I see the ad for this thing, and I see some of these comedians who are there, like Mr. Show people. And I'm like, what do you mean? Bob Odenkirk's going to be at this fucking place on the... I didn't even know what it was. I thought it was some shitty bar on Fairfax. And he's going to be at the Largo? And someone said, yeah, that's like they do this comedy thing there every whatever night of the week it was. So I went, and I'm like in a room with like him and David Cross and all these people, and like even like older. I met Mark Maron back then, like way back when.
Wow.
So I was like in the epicenter of that LA comedy scene in the late 90s before any of like their careers broke. Bob and David and Brian Posehn and Patton Oswalt and Tenacious D, all of them. We'd see these guys every week.
Yeah.
Either Largo or whatever other club. I was a fucking comedy nerd, like groupie. And just so into it. Same way like I was for rap or hardcore or metal. So into it. And then I think it was in 2000, we played House of Blues on Sunset. And this guy that worked for us was in the dressing room. He's like, you're not going to believe who's here. I'm like, it's fucking Hollywood. Like, give me a hint.
Yeah.
Right? Narrow it down.
Yeah.
And he's like, Brian Posehn. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, get him back here right now. And he grabs Brian and he brings Brian back. And he's like wearing an Anthrax shirt. And I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, seeing a metal show? Like, like, duh. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm just really excited. I'm a huge fan. He's like, really? I'm like, dude, Mr. Show, like, holy crap, you don't understand. And I could have recited every episode at that point in my life. I used to memorize all the lines, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. He's like, oh yeah, I've been into you guys since your first album, and that was it. We've been friends ever since that night in 2000. And then through him, I met all kinds of everyone else that I met in the comedy world. But I am such a nerd for comedy, man. I get so nerdy around it, and like the fact that I become friends with some of these people, and I just get so nervous around them still. Like,
that's funny.
So crazy. Like even meeting Bill Burr the other night, I was so excited that I was like, holy crap, it's Bill Burr. Like, And our lead guitar player, John, he wrote me like the next day, oh my God, you hung out with Bill Burr? Because like that's like his god.
Yeah.
And John's from Massachusetts. Like he's like, oh my God. He goes, you got to get him on the show. I'm like, he's a fan. I'll invite him for sure next time. I'll invite him.
He's doing the Forum. Let's go together.
Let's go. When is that?
It's in like September.
Oh, I think I'm home until the end. I go to Australia, but I'm home most of September.
That'd be great.
Cool. I would love to go.
Your band, to me, it's the most interesting thing about the singer thing, of every different singer and everything. Of course, to me, it's all about Joey, you know, and I remember seeing you or hearing you say, like, with Joey, you didn't really hear the vocals weren't supposed to, like, you hear them differently, at the time. And now you've settled in, of course, all these years of that's really the Anthrax that everybody loves. But, that was an interesting point of the Dan Nelson era, like
is there an era?
I know. But
era should be, there's probably isn't an X amount of time denote an era.
That blew my mind of what was going on. And it's amazing that you guys survived that and the fans stuck with you, because you go from Dan to John to Joey, right?
It was pretty gnarly. Yes. From 2005 through the end of 2009, things were crazy. It was definitely a bit of a soap opera.
Yeah.
I mean, too bad we didn't have a reality show to cover all of that, because it would have been compelling television.
Crazy stuff behind the scenes.
Just crazy shit. I'll tell you what. One of the craziest moments of all, because there's a singer you actually didn't mention, and I don't know, we can't really call it an era either, but there was the Corey Taylor era.
Oh,
Corey Taylor was actually in Anthrax. This was in, I believe, 2007.
Wow.
When we had a night out in New York. I had this club in New York called Retox. And it wasn't my club, it was my friend's club. But we would do one night, usually like once a month. And I'd see who would be in town and plan the night around that. And we'd do these acoustic shows and just raging. And anyway, we did it with Corey one night. And, it was me and Frankie and Corey and just blah, 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 blah. And we didn't have a singer because this is post-reunion tour with Joey that ended in 2006. What are you guys doing? Well, we're writing songs. And he's like, I'll do it. I'll sing. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Sure you will. No, I'm totally serious. You guys are like one of the biggest influences on me. I've been a fan since I was a child. Like, it would be my honor to be. I'm like, yeah, but you already have Slipknot and Stone Sour. Like, how is it? He goes, no, I've got like this time. I can do it. I could start. Give me the stuff. I'll start working on it. Blah, 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 blah. Right? We're like, all right, whatever. Sure. Okay. Right. Wake up the next day thinking like, it's just a bunch of drunk talk. Go to the Stone Sour show at Roseland the next night. Backstage, Corey's manager comes up to me and says, congratulations on your new singer. Like, we already okayed it with the label and the rest of the band is down with it. And we're like, huh? Like, holy shit, right?
Yeah.
So it's on, like, full speed. We're sending him all the demos of the music that was to become worship music.
Wow.
He's got a bunch of the demos. He's already writing it, right? A couple of months go by. We've got a plan. We're meeting in Chicago. Stone Sour tour's over. We're going to meet in Chicago at Charlie's house, at the studio at Charlie's house. Corey's got all these songs written. I'm over in London just having fun. I went to go see Metallica at like the Wembley Stadium. I think it was Live 8 or something.
Right.
Anyway, I'm over there with a couple of people, and we go to this. I'm like having the time of my life. I'm like hanging out in London, and then I'm coming back, and we're starting our new record with Corey Taylor as our singer. Like, I couldn't be on more of a high, right?
Yeah.
I get on the plane from London to Chicago, and I land in O'Hare, and I turn on my phone, and my phone's like blowing up, like emails and texts coming in, and I see our manager, so I just call him. First thing, I just call Mike. Hey man, what's up? I just landed. I'm heading to the hotel. What time are we starting tomorrow? He's like, you haven't spoken to anyone?
Yeah.
Like, no. Why? Because you haven't nothing. You don't know anything. No. Why? It's like, Corey's not coming. Okay. Well, so what I'm in Chicago. I'm not going to fly home to L.A. If it's just going to be a couple of days, I'll just stay here and then I'll go home or whatever. And but we'll figure it out. He goes, no. He's not coming. He's not doing it. He's not going to sing on the record. What do you mean? It's like, they had a last-minute meeting, literally, like last night, with Roadrunner, with the label, and they won't let him do it. It literally came down to them realizing if he does this, they're not going to get a Slipknot record till later than they thought they were getting it. And basically, they threatened him with like, and they had to. And I got it. I understand. Slipknot's your band.
Yeah, of course.
That's your bread and butter. You're not going to fuck with that.
Yeah.
To go sing on, maybe it was a Zeppelin album.
Yeah.
He might have said fuck you.
Yeah.
But, but I'm standing there in the middle of O'Hare, like literally with like my backpack on the floor, and it was like a scene in the movie. You know that shot they do in a movie where someone is completely still, but everyone else is moving super fast around them, like crowds.
Like they're just frozen in time.
I'm just frozen in time. Stunned. Stunned. Like I could hear Mike going, you there? Are you there? And I'm like, sorry. I was just processing. What do I do?
Yeah.
Where do I go? He's like, go home. I'm like, I don't have a flight. My flight was booked for 2 weeks from now home because we were supposed to be rehearsing for 2 weeks with Corey. So I walk up to the counter to American Airlines and I said, I need a flight to L.A., just the first one you have. And the lady's like looking at me, the agent, Is everything okay, sir? She obviously could see that something was wrong. I'm like, you could say, nobody died.
Yeah.
But
maybe my band.
I did just get a really, really terrible business phone call and kind of got the rug pulled out from under me. I was supposed to be here for 2 weeks doing something, and I need to fly home right now. And she's like, okay. And she's like, so cool. She's like, obviously, this flight, I'm going to give it to you for what it would have cost you 2 weeks ago to book it. And because it was like $2,000 or something.
Yeah.
The ticket right there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and anyway, but that was it. We literally thought we're like, oh my God, we're fucking cursed.
God,
how did that happen?
Think about all the people that like were writing or working on worship, you know what I mean? In and out of lyrics.
But then, what's crazy is when you look back on it, everything was meant to be because it all led up to Joey rejoining in the beginning of 2010. We were all I was in New York on tour with Pearl. She was playing at that place, the studio at Webster Hall. And so I'm in town. Charlie and Frankie are in town. Caggiano's in town. They were all coming to the Pearl show. And they in advance, Charlie, and we had already been talking about it for months, about let's call Joey. Let's call Joey. Well, how do we know he wants to do it? It's easy for us to say let's call Joey, but that doesn't mean he wants anything to do with us anymore. Yeah. And so we knew, like, I'm going to be in New York. Let's do a face-to-face. Screw this phone stuff.
Yeah.
So we called Joey and said, we're all going to be in New York City. Scott's coming in. We'd love you we want to come down and have lunch.
Where'd you guys meet at?
And talk. We literally went at the Pearl show.
Oh, yeah.
We all met at the show and just figured, let's not even talk first. They all came to the show, watched Pearl's gig, had a great night, hung out afterwards at the bar, just shooting the crap, just kind of blah, 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 blah. Had a great night and then said, let's go meet for coffee tomorrow before I had to leave for the next show. Let's go meet for coffee tomorrow morning, all of us. So we meet for coffee like 11 o'clock, whatever. And then that was it. We just said, we want to do this.
Wow.
We want to be Anthrax again with you as the singer forever until there is no more Anthrax.
Wow.
And Joey said, it's all I've ever wanted.
Yeah.
And that was
I could imagine, right?
It was simple as that. And then we had coffee and like probably talked about Rush and and that was it. And like, so what do we do? Well, we've got songs. We'll start sending you music. And then next thing you know, we're on tour with Slayer and Megadeth in the fall of 2010, going in to record the record because we really wanted Joey to live it and become a part of it and put his own stamp on it. And Slayer and Megadeth were kind enough to take us out on this huge run and have like a Clash of the Titans reunited thing in the fall of 2010. And that's Joey's first tour back and couldn't have went better. Obviously the shows were amazing. And that's it. We literally hit the ground running and never looked back. Eight years already.
Wow.
Joey's been in the band longer now than he was the first time around.
Wow.
Which is crazy when you think about it. That
seemed like so many years, but when I looked at the timetable,
you look at the timeline,
I was like, what?
Yeah.
You guys were just putting records out nonstop and working.
But it's going on eight years now back in the band, and things couldn't be better.
Wow.
Like, it couldn't be better.
Wow.
It's called growing up.
Yeah. On your part or on both? Was Joey?
Certainly on my part.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
On my part. I'm not a 29-year-old anymore who thinks he knows everything there is to know about everything. And I couldn't be happier for someone else's input, honestly. Yeah. There's nothing better when someone else has an idea that might actually be better than yours. For real.
You miss New York? I'm asking because I go every summer, and I do comedy there like months at a time. Right. And I've been in LA 17 years, and I think something about New York right now is really grabbing me and saying move there. Do you miss it?
I don't know, not in that way.
Right.
And I get my fill because I go enough in a year. I go enough every year. I usually get a solid week over a year, let's say, because I don't count show days as. Yeah. But I get enough days off in New York in a year, or even like if I'm going in for other things, I'll always stick a day in on one side or the other. So I'll have like if I'm going to do, like I had to go do promo for my book a couple of months ago. So I go do the press tour for 4 days. But I had Pearl and Revel come with me, and we put like 4 days extra, build it in so I could actually have some days.
Right.
So I get enough days.
Your parents still there?
Nope. My mom's out here. My dad's in Florida.
Oh, wow.
My youngest brother is still there.
Wow.
But yeah, I get enough days where I don't miss it. I go, I eat everywhere I want to eat. I see what I want to see, and then I can't wait to get the hell out. Because,
really?
Yeah, it's not my New York.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been in a long, long time.
It's like me with San Francisco.
Yeah, you remember I grew up in the New York that you see in Taxi Driver.
Absolutely.
That's my New York.
42nd Street,
70s.
dirty, pre-Giuliani.
I started going to Manhattan as a kid in like 1977.
Yeah.
I started taking the train in myself with my friends. When I think about that in the context of my son, I'm like, I want to tell my parents, how did you ever let me get on a train and go to Manhattan?
Yeah.
But it's a different world.
It's a different world.
So I get it in that context. But yeah, that's my New York. Not the New York that started in the 90s.
Right.
And that has only gotten more and more weird and different and expensive and Disneyland and a city that 50% of the apartments there are vacant because they're just owned by people who live in other parts of the world and they buy them as trophy houses.
Wow.
Like it's insane.
Here I am
it's an
looking
insane
for
city.
I'm trying to find a place to stay there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like,
don't get me wrong, I still love what certain things.
Yeah.
For me, when I go there, I have my things that I love to do where I'll go eat and where I want to have a drink.
Where do you eat?
My must eats are Russ and Daughters for bagels and lox on the Lower East Side. Blue Ribbon Brasserie for the fried chicken.
Oh, I love it.
Babbo for Italian. Joe's Pizza for a slice. John's Pizza for a pie. And I don't get me wrong.
What about Katz's Deli?
I love Katz's because I usually stay on the Lower East Side at the 60 LES. So Katz's and Russ and Daughters are a 60-second walk from my hotel. So Katz's generally. There's probably a couple I'm not thinking of right now, but those are my go-tos always.
Before I split, let's just talk real quick guitars, man. Mm-hmm. You got some of the coolest guitars. I remember early on where you just had a Jackson with only 12 frets because you never went past that, and I thought it was genius. I was just like, this is genius. He's never going to use those other frets. Why put them in? You've always had amazing guitars. You've always had amazing guitar tone and stuff. Your new checkerboard Jackson blows my mind. How many guitars you got?
I mean, I'm unveiling the checkerboard on tour this week.
I can't believe it.
That's my homage to Rick Nielsen.
Yeah.
Because I love him so much. I have a lot of guitars, too many. Most of them sit at where the band stores our gear here in LA. I have a locker there, and it's funny. I had a few months ago when it was still fire season here. I'm not gonna say where I live, obviously, but I had like 18 guitars in the house.
Whoa!
And there was a fire, the Bel Air fire, and they were saying we got the notice basically from the sheriff's department if the fire crosses the 405 in the night. It's mandatory evacuation. And I'm sitting here going, I got 18 guitars. I can't it's not going to fit in my car.
Right.
Besides all the other stuff we got to grab to get out of here. We've got like our stuff that lives in the garage, your
fire bag,
important papers, and this stuff that you want to have with you. And so I had to call the gear place where the band, I said, do you guys have a van? I got to get my guitars out of here. And then so they took all the guitars out of the house. Luckily enough, we ended up not evacuating. But then I was like, I'm not bringing them all back because it's probably just going to happen again. And funny because we just heard there was a brush fire.
As we're doing this.
But right now in the house, I think I've got five or six, and I'm probably upwards somewhere of 100 right now. You know, over the years in the past, there's some guitars I sold guitars to the Hard Rock before, and I've donated lots of guitars to charity things and. Over the years, I don't have every guitar I've ever had. I wish.
Yeah.
I'm like an idiot in the 80s when I was with ESP guitars before I became a Jackson artist because, funnily enough, Jackson wouldn't endorse me like in '86 because I wasn't a lead guitar player.
Whoa.
And they didn't think that, well, what are we going to give free guitars to a rhythm guitar player? They gave Spitz.
Wow.
Danny got free Jacksons, but they wouldn't give them to me because I was the rhythm guitar player.
Whoa.
I was like, oh, yeah, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, so ESP was like, well, we want to make you guitars.
Right.
And I had all these killer ESP guitars. And I had a huge falling out with them in like, I don't know, late 87 or sometime in 88. And then Jackson was like, we want you.
Yeah.
We apologize. We're sorry. That was a guy who's not here anymore.
Yeah.
He was an idiot.
Yeah.
And I love Jacksons. I love them. I bought my first Randy Rhoads. I custom ordered it at Sam Ash in 82.
Wow.
Like I'd saved up for 9 months, to order it. And love Jackson guitars. So yeah, I was like, yes, I want to go to Jackson. And then I started smashing my ESPs every night.
Brutal.
Not thinking anything that, these guitars are amazing guitars that, you know what, 30 years from now, not only be worth a lot of money, but they sound great.
They sound great.
And
Those
they're amazing.
early ones Hetfield played with the Explorers that were exact copies.
I had like at least 15 amazing ESPs.
Oh my God.
And I would smash them and give the pieces to my friends, and then I looked a couple of years after that, I was like, what an idiot.
Oh my God.
I thought I was being able to take that ESP.
Oh my God.
No, take that, Scotty, you idiot.
I've been looking for the Hetfield one with the it had the Wherever I May Roam Caveman on it. I remember going in Guitar Center and they had one on the wall.
Right.
And Fernie from Jet Boy bought one and it was his guitar for years.
Right.
And he sold it. I was like, you still got that? I can't find one. They're so rare.
And I had an 82 San Dimas Charvel Starbody.
Amazing.
That I bought on 40.
Traded it for Coke.
Mine's not a
loser move.
I bought it on 48th Street in Manhattan, probably at Sam Ash. And in like 83, when I had gotten my Rhodes by then, and that became my main guitar. And then Charlie loved that Charvel Starbody so much. And he loved it. Because Charlie, our drummer, plays guitar as well and writes most of our riffs. And I remember saying, would you sell it? I'm like, yeah, sure. I feel weird taking money from you. You're,
Right.
He goes, well, how much did you get it for? And I said, I got it in like a trade and this and that for another guitar. I'm like, I don't know. Give me like $300 for it.
Ooh.
Is that cool? He's like, yeah. Because even that guitar would have been $900.
Does he still got it?
1,000, yeah.
Unbelievable.
But here's the great part about it, the fact that sometimes I'm like, God, I wish I still had that Starbody. But you know what? Charlie's written some of our best songs ever in Anthrax are written on that Starbody.
Oh.
That's his main guitar for writing on. Like I Am the Law, Indian, some of those songs, Caught in a Mosh, on and on and on and on.
Magic guitar.
Only, on and on and on. Were written on that guitar. So maybe if he doesn't have that guitar, who knows? I'm glad he has that guitar.
San Dimas had the magic, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
I've got a white San Dimas, the ivory one in the other room. It's awesome.
Thanks for doing the podcast,
yeah, man.
dude. I can't thank you enough, man. I've been wanting you on for years. Not
Thanks
just
for having
because
me.
like, I gotta have it. It was to me. I'm a serious Anthrax fan over the years. I've seen you in all the different configurations and Clash of the Titans being one of the best, of course, Alice in Chains awesome. There and here we are. You're going out with Slayer. Their final tour. We'll see about that.
Yeah,
final
see
tour
you on the
can
road.
Go 5
when
years.
is this going to air?
Next Monday.
Oh, great. So yeah, I'll be out on the metal tour of the year for sure.
Big time.
I mean, God damn it. Testament, Behemoth, Anthrax, Lamb of God, Slayer.
I love Chuck Billy.
That is a dream come true right there. When we got the call for that tour, our agent, he emails me, say, hey, Slayer's putting together this thing. It wasn't even their goodbye tour at the time.
Yeah, I heard they didn't tell anybody.
No, they didn't say a word. And he just sent me the lineup, and I said yes before I was just like, yes, we're doing it.
Yeah.
We're doing it. And then when they add in the fact that this is, the end of the road at some point, and we've got a second leg, and then there's another leg that I can't talk about yet. You said next Monday this is going to be? Oh, there's a Europe and UK leg being announced imminently.
Wow.
That we're also on, and hopefully more next year maybe. We'll do any shows they offer us. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I hope you go out and play with Metallica again.
Me too. There's nothing. Look, now that Slayer's kind of put an end date, come on, man. There's got to be
one more Big Four.
Big Four.
Yep.
They haven't done it in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
No Bay Area.
Can you believe they didn't do it at Pac Bell?
Yeah,
I mean,
there's got to be. Come on, if you're just going to do one more, do it in your hometown.
It's got to be
hometown
and
show.
also at Oakland Coliseum.
Yeah, and add in the fact that last ever Slayer show in the Bay Area.
I believe that because I say really the changing of guard was the time when Metallica opened for Scorpions at Dan the Green.
Right.
At Oakland.
Sure.
That was the day the pendulum fucking swung the other way, and I was there, and I was like, oh, this is on now.
Yeah.
So to go back there, and of course they headlined there a few years later, and then did it with GNR. But to go back there one more time with the Big Four would be one of the greatest shows of all time. Of all time, because you got to do it at Yankee Stadium.
Twist my arm.
You know what it twist my arm, right? Yeah. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, man.
And
thank you, Dean.
Go see him, and then see us on our spoken word tour.
Yes. I hope so.
I'm down with that. Thank you so much,
Cheers,
man.
brother.
I'll see you later. Bye, guys.